What's up, folks? Just going live on Instagram. There we go. We're live on Instagram. Let's wait for the fam to come in. What a crazy eclipse cycle this has been. Let's wait for folks to show up as I get the charts pulled up. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening. Let's wait for everybody to come in. My neighbor's walking by. Let me close this window, actually. Good morning, everybody. How are you guys? We're gonna be talking about the astrology of this week, and we're gonna be talking about a few other things. Um, Let me close. Those of you that are new here, thank you for being here. Really excited to tap in. This will be also posted to Instagram. Let me just let folks kind of flow in for a minute. But this will be posted to Instagram. So, or I'm sorry, to YouTube and Instagram. So if you want to go back and watch the replay on YouTube, you can. For those of you that are not following my YouTube yet, please do that. If you go on my link tree in my bio, you will actually be able to find my YouTube link there. Okay. I think it's the thesoulsage11 on YouTube. It's like at the thesoulsage11 on YouTube, I believe. I think that's my handle on there. But how's everybody been doing? How's the eclipses been treating everybody? How's the eclipse energy been? Let me tell you, I must say that this has probably been one of the most tumultuous, one of the most volatile, one of the most memorable, prolific eclipse seasons that we've had in a long time. This eclipse season, we're in our last week of the eclipses, by the way, or eclipse energy. So the reason why, even though we had our eclipse a week ago, the reason why we're still in the eclipse energy or still in the eclipse cycle is because our solar eclipse in Virgo, which was a new moon eclipse. We're in that energy for 2 weeks, right? So we have one more week left of being in the eclipse energy that has been really volatile. But one of the things I want you guys to pay attention to, hello, welcome, thank you for being here. One of the things I want you guys to pay attention to with this eclipse cycle, especially if you're a mutable sign, okay? Especially if you're a Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, you have that in your big three, okay? I want you to pay attention to what this eclipse season has been revealing to you about your karmic journey and like the choices that you make. And like, are you gonna keep repeating the same patterns? Are you gonna keep doing the same things? Are you gonna keep doing like, the South Nodian self-sabotaging things, right? Or are you gonna move towards your North Node? Are you gonna move towards, your Dharma? Are you gonna move towards, your destiny? You're gonna move towards change. And I think that this eclipse cycle has been incredibly revealing for a lot of people. I think it's been revealing a lot of our insecurities. I think it's been revealing our self-doubt. I think it's been revealing our fears. I also think it's been revealing truth. Like people's real intentions and who we really are. And I really do feel like, there's been a certain level of self-revelation and self-epiphany that a lot of us have been going through, especially the mutable signs, right? Especially the mutable signs. Wow, look what someone says. It has been monumental for me losing my relationship and my best friend, your gay husband. Wow, that's so interesting. Yeah, because what's so interesting about, being LGBT or LGBT energy is it is connected to Mercury and it is connected to the sign of Virgo and Gemini. So what's so interesting is we've seen a lot of themes around Virgo stuff, right? Pets, loss of pets, loss of jobs, health things, a lot of health stuff coming up for people, health issues that are a result of not taking care of the self sustainably or not having a good daily health practice, right? Not doing the self maintenance, because that's what Virgo is about. Virgo is about illnesses that are a result of a lack of consistent self care. So it's like, if you're not brushing your teeth every day, your teeth are going to get worn away and they're going to end up with cavities and all this, right? So that's what Virgo is about. Virgo is about like the sustainable behaviors that we need to create in order to maintain or sustain our health. But Virgo, right? What's so interesting is it also has a lot to do being a Mercury sign with sexuality and sexual identity and stuff, right? Mercury, rules over Virgo and Gemini. Mercury was known as being the only planet that was hermaphroditic, and who was bisexual or bicurious, right? Or not really aligned to either, not too attached to either gender polarity, right? The gender polarity is more of a Venus, Mars, Sun, Moon thing, right? Where we have Mercury, who kind of is the third gender or the third, you know, um, this kind of third amorphous energy, right? So I think that's also really interesting. But one of the things that I think it's been super fascinating about this eclipse season is how we're seeing in many ways the global narrative or the global timeline move forward. And I think that's one of the things that the eclipses do. The eclipses, because they have a lot to do with the sun and the moon. The eclipses are about the nodes, right? The sun and the moon coming into contact with the nodes, the north node of destiny and the south node of fate. And so, when we're going through an eclipse cycle, especially those of us that are getting hit by the eclipses, like myself, I'm a Pisces rising, right? I have a lot of mutable in my chart. If you're a Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, or Sagittarius, what happens is the eclipses kind of push the narrative forward. They push the story forward. They push your karmic narrative forward, whether you like it or not, or whether you're ready for it or not. And I think one of the most important things to take notice of with this eclipse season and all the events that are unfolding is kind of like how, like, take notice of the trajectory of the timeline, even for yourself individual in your own life, but also kind of like this global narrative, this global timeline, right? What's happening politically, right? We have a lot of, you know, um, governments all around the world that are dealing with protests. We have a lot of leaders stepping up, stepping down. We have a new generation of leadership coming in. We have a lot of these old, archaic political ideologies, like, fascism and stuff like that, making a resurgence, coming back. And also one of the big things that's a signature of eclipses is extremism in various ways, right? So extremist behaviors, extremist beliefs, extremist habits, like kind of taking it to the extreme in various ways. And a lot of times, right, extremism leads us to self-destruction. And extremism is a north node, south node type of, well, it's actually more connected to the north node. The north node is intense, all-consuming, hungry, extreme in nature. So I think it's really important that, as we finish out, our immediate eclipse energy that we've been dealing with for the last 3 weeks, we have this last week of it, right? Because we had two eclipses. So we've been dealing with, two lunar cycles with the eclipse energy. I think we really need to sit with ourselves and really ask ourselves, like, what are we coming out of this eclipse season having learned? Right? What did the North Node in Pisces and the South Node in Virgo show us about, and the, lunar eclipse in Pisces and the solar eclipse in Virgo? What did it show us about faith? What did it show us about our intuition? What did it show us about our daily habits, our behaviors? What did it show us about our, habitual patterns? What did it show us about, our need to reach for more, right? To, um, obtain more or to dream for more, right? Or to work towards more. Because that's what the North Node in Pisces has been about. The North Node in Pisces has been about us cultivating faith, cultivating spiritual grounding, cultivating intuition, cultivating, a relationship with our own dreams, our own vision, something that's bigger than us, right? Our beliefs, having to clarify our beliefs. That's what the North Node in Pisces has been about, where the South Node in Virgo has been about moving away from this like self-perfectionism, moving away from antagonism, moving away from just doing work or doing jobs that are aimless, that don't have, a connection to deeper passion or to deeper vision or even towards our karma, right? It's been about, kind of moving away from these unhealthy patterns, right? Whether it be patterns of addiction, whether it be, social patterns, whether it be certain emotional or psychological patterns, right? We've been having to release or free ourselves from these outdated Virgo-esque patterns. And I want you guys to take notice of this. This is collectively for everybody. But, Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, Sag, the mutable signs are feeling this most intensely, right? Um, so, eclipse season pushes our so eclipse season, what does it do? It pushes us forward in our narrative and our timeline. It forces us to confront things. It forces us to look at things, right? We get pushed into tower moments a lot of times during eclipses so that we can come clean with our own karma, so that we can free ourselves from the our South Nodian patterns of self-sabotage or self-destruction or escapism or avoidance, or and it could be anything. It could be overeating, it could be overspending, it could be having a restless heart, it could be just overindulgence in any type of way, right? But it could also be about lack, right? It could also be about not having enough, and it could also be about fear. So I think it's important that wherever you happen to find yourself, or wherever you happen to find yourself, whatever's come up for you over the last 3 weeks during this eclipse season, you want to take note of it. You want to write it down. You want to process it. You want to emotionally confront it. You want to go ahead and talk about it with people. It's important so that you can get some perspective, and so that you can kind of know what the plan of action is and what you can do to go ahead and approach those things or start working through those things, right? Whatever's been coming up for you, whatever's been getting revealed to you, right? So I just want you guys to keep that in mind. Look at all these beautiful faces coming in. Oh my God. Why are all the people that follow me so freaking sexy? It is crazy. Mars is in Scorpio right now. So if I start acting a little much today, y'all just please let me know, okay? Mars is at 5 degrees Scorpio, right on my sun at 4. I have a 4 degree Scorpio sun, and it's passing through my Mercury. Also, Mars is kissing. Mars can kiss my ass, honestly. Yesterday I was doing yoga and I injured my shoulder. Mars on my Mercury. So your shoulders are ruled by Mercury. When you have a Mars transit, when Mars comes in to conjoin your Mercury or square your Mercury or oppose your Mercury, you can deal with an injury or sickness around the Mercury ruled parts of your body. So this can be about a lung infection. You can end up straining your wrist. You can break a finger or cut a finger or your hands, or you can mess up your shoulders and your arms in some type of way, because those are all parts of the body ruled by Mercury. So yesterday I was doing yoga. I wasn't going to do anything intense. It was just like a basic plank, and all of a sudden I hear in my left shoulder, and I was like, "What was that?" So I just kept doing yoga, and then I ended up kind of making the injury worse, I believe. It's not that bad though, but yeah. So you want to anybody that has fixed placements, if you do have Scorpio, Taurus, Aquarius, Leo placements, Mars has been in Scorpio for maybe, I think, like 6 days. So we have what, 39 days left of Mars in Scorpio, because he's going to be in there for 45 days. Um, if you're a fixed sign, okay, Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, Leo, watch out for Mars coming in to instigate some drama, some trouble, some crisis, okay? Especially because let me tell you something, all right? Let's talk a little bit about Mars and Scorpio really quick. Mars and Scorpio has been a menace. I really do feel so. I think Mars has been a menace in Scorpio. I think even just the few days he's been in there. So what Mars and Scorpio has been doing he's been igniting our passions, and he's been strengthening our desires, and he's been giving us a little bit more courageousness, more bravery, more gusto. He's making us very aware of our desires. And for some of us, we're realizing that there's things in our life where we're not feeling very impassioned by it. We're not feeling very, you know, the desire energy, we've been disconnected from it in some type of way, right? We're not feeling motivated or inspired. These are also Mars words: motivation, inspired, inspiration. These are Mars words. And I feel like Mars and Scorpio has been kind of instigating some ish to have us take a look at where we're disconnected from passion, from pleasure, from desire, from intention, from like this like we're disconnected from these deeper, darker, not necessarily darker, but they can be darker for some of us. I mean, come on, it's Mars and Scorpio, but these deeper desires. And there's something that's missing, right? I think for many people also, maybe I'm just speaking for myself. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself. But anyways, I feel like Mars and Scorpio has also been triggering or revealing people's like sexual frustration or their disconnect from their body or their physical form in some type of way. Scorpio is a very physical sign. I think Scorpio is the most physical signs of the water signs by far. I think Pisces and Cancer can be a little bit more detached from the physical form in the body, but I think because Scorpio is on the axis with Taurus and Taurus rules the five senses and Taurus is about pleasure and stuff like that, I think Scorpio is by far the most physical, the most sensual of the water signs. And Mars, the traditional ruler of Scorpio, Mars going through his sign, right? He's kind of activating our passions, or he's reactivating our passions. Or if we've been kind of denying or suppressing our passions, Mars is like, are you you know you want that. You know you want that. You know you want to go after that. You know you desire that. You know you have a craving that you've been denying, okay? And maybe, okay, you have to figure out what Mars wants you to do with that energy. What does he want you to chase after? What does he want you to go after? Or even how can you reignite some kind of passion, some kind of inspiration, some kind of motivation in your body, all right, or in your life, but also rebuilding a relationship with your physical form or your body, or rebuilding a healthy relationship with desire, right? I believe that the word desire gets a lot of flack and I think, because many of us are raised crash Catholic and Christian, and we were shamed for our desires and made to feel guilty for our desires, and we were told to abstain from our desires and things like this. I think many of us have a wounded relationship with pleasure and with desire. And I think many of us, when we engage in things that we desire or that are pleasurable, because Taurus is pleasure, Scorpio is desire, right? That access. We can feel ashamed, or we can feel guilty, or we can feel like bad about ourselves, and then we can like punish ourselves, and then we can have this weird guilt or shame complex with the very things that we desire that are natural to us. And so what we do, let me tell you what this can produce, what cyclically, okay? And when you repress or deny your desires, all right, and you don't honor them, and you don't work on healing them as well, okay, and work because some desires are trauma informed. Let me tell you this is welcome to the sign of Scorpio with Mars and Scorpio, okay, for those, thank you for attending my TED talk. But I'm not going to say many, but there are desires that are informed by trauma. When we do not work through our trauma and when we do not honor our desires, we can end up actually blending the two because they are part of the same emotional experience. So I think with Mars and Scorpio, there's an invitation for us to really look at our desire nature, to look at our desires, the things that we want, the things that we crave, and to release any kind of shame or guilt associated with the repression of desires. Because, like I was saying, let me go back to that point. I didn't finish that point. When we repress our desires, what happens is they boil up eventually. And it's like a volcano building energy, building energy, building energy. And at some point, that desire, the craving for that, it gets so strong that the volcano explodes, and then you go to an extreme with honoring that desire. And that's how we get to really weird sexual things. Desire is a slippery slope, okay? For those of you that, have watched porn, you know that it starts off with just, like very simple, basic sexual things, but once you go down the rabbit hole of porn, right, you can end up in some really weird, strange places as you're exploring your desire nature, right? But when we have a healthy relationship with our desires, when we're not ashamed or guilty of them, when we honor them, and when we work through any trauma informed desires, okay, then we can kind of purify them and experience them without guilt or without shame. And so I think Mars and Scorpio really wants us to rebuild a relationship with our desire nature. It really wants us to heal through any kind of these, any kind of trauma, shame, guilt, any kind of, you know, disconnect that we have with our desire nature. And I would encourage you guys to think about that this week. I want you guys, for those of you watching, I want you guys to reflect on that this week. I want you to ask yourself this: how can I honor my desires? How can I release any shame or guilt around my desires? And how am I disconnected from my desires? Right? And also, maybe even how do I need to flush out my desires? Let me tell you one of the most baffling things I've ever experienced is I was in, let me see if she's here. I think she's here. I was in a whatchamacallit class, an intuitive development class, right? With my dear friend Therese, who's also one of my mentors. And we were talking about manifesting, right? We were gonna do a manifestation practice, like an intuitive, manifestation practice. Well, anyways, the first question that Therese asked all of us was, well, what do you want to manifest? What do you desire? And tell me why everyone in the session, everyone who was there, everyone in the class, they all had no idea what they wanted. No one other than me. I was like, I want this, I want that. I was very clear and concise with my desires, okay? But obviously I went first because I'm the type of person that goes first, anyways. It's a Jupiter and Aries thing, it's a Mars and Libra type of thing, it's a Scorpio thing, Mars thing going first. But anyways, I was baffled at the fact that so many people were disconnected from their desires and what they wanted to manifest. Like, you have to get clear with what you want. How do you expect the universe, the divine, spirit, your ancestors to help you and support you when you have no idea where you're going and you have no idea what you want? Well, actually, no. They can support you if you don't know where you're going. That's fine. That's okay. To be kind of directionless, sometimes that's part of the mission, right? But if you don't know what you want, if you have no intention, if you're not living a desire motivated, a desire inspired, a desire driven life, what are you doing? You gotta sit with yourself and you gotta go deeper to ask yourself, what the hell do I really want out of life? Because once you know what you want, then you can start adapting your life, right? Taking the actions, making the changes, possibly moving and relocating to position yourself to pursue those desires, right? So if you don't know what the fuck you want, go and figure that shit out with Mars and Scorpio. Go and figure that out. Most people know what they don't want, but that's a negative energy. What you don't want is repelling. Oh, I don't want that. I don't want that. But let me tell you something about negative energy, okay? Negative energy is just as magnetic as positive energy. And many times when we are obsessively thinking about what we don't want to happen, what we don't want to experience, guess what happens? Our obsessive thinking and our negative energetic investment in what we don't want actually manifests it. It's all energetic science, my loves. This is how the universe works. So many of us need to reprogram our mind. We need to reprogram our desire nature. We need to reprogram and heal our relationship with desire so that not only we can clear up what we want, but that so we can feel confident and courageous and clear of heart and spirit to be able to pursue what we want, right? Many of us, because of the shaming and the guilting and that we experience with our desires, we feel inner conflict around the things that we want. You know, we feel inner conflict or ashamed of our desires. You may know what you want, but if you feel guilty or bad or ashamed of what you want, then good luck manifesting it. So I think with Mars and Scorpio, I think we have to really take a deep look at our desires, at what we want, at what we're going after. At our also our sacral energy, right? So the root chakra and the sacral chakra are connected to Mars. Well, the sacral is actually more ruled by the moon, but it is in the lower quadrant of the body, right? And the root chakra, which is the color red, which is connected to Mars, has a lot to do with safety and security, but it also has a lot to do with passion and creativity. The root chakra is extremely creative. The root chakra is what creates babies, right? And the root chakra is also connected to pleasure and our relationship with pleasure because why? It's connected to sex. When we have a healed relationship with our root chakra, which is located at the base of the spine, right where our sexual organs are at, we don't feel ashamed or guilty with having sex and experiencing pleasure, you know? But the root chakra being ruled by Mars is also a fire energy. So when the root chakra is too strong, when it's overinflamed, when it's doing too much, well, guess what? Excessive sexual habits and behaviors, right? Not having good, healthy boundaries with others sexually, having pleasure, the desire nature and the pleasure principle dictate your life, right? Being a slave to your desires. Some people it's not about repression of desires or denial of it, but it's also about an over an overindulgence of desire. So, so for some people, the root chakra is like just like burning, right? And so they're always horny all the time. They just want to have pointless sex, right? They just want to satiate this desire, and it's never going to be nothing is ever going to be enough to satiate it, right? So for those folks, they need to bring down the fire. They need to calm the root chakra down. They need to bring it into balance, right? The chakras, especially the root chakra, can be too much or too little. It's all about balance, right? It's all about balance. So I just wanted to bring that up. I wanted to talk about that real quick with Mars and Scorpio because it's something that I've been noticing and it's something that kind of came to me, and I think it's a good point of reflection with Mars and Scorpio. But, overall, energetically, Mars and Scorpio is going to be having people feel more horny. It has been more aware of, what they're not getting. It's going to make people more aware of their desire nature and stuff. So, okay. So another aspect I want to talk about, which we're going to go into that when we're covering the week ahead forecast or when we're doing the like day by day breakdown, when we follow the moon. But the other aspect I want to talk about is Venus in Virgo this week coming into a conjunction with the South Node. And I want to talk about Venus in Virgo a little bit because I think that Venus, who's been fallen in the sign of Virgo, so she actually hits a conjunction with the South Node on Thursday. Her and the South Node are going to be at 16 degrees. I think Venus has been revealing a lot of our insecurities and a lot of our vulnerabilities and a lot of the imbalances in our relationships and a lot of the lack of reciprocation, a lot, our people-pleasing tendencies, our not having good boundaries with others, not having good boundaries in our relationships, right? I think Venus being in Virgo in her fallen state because she's disempowered, right? And she's weakened in Virgo, I think she's been revealing a lot of the things that are within ourselves around our own self-worth or self-value, right? Our insecurities and things like that. She's been revealing those things and bringing them to the table. And actually, a lot of this stuff has also been showing up in the realm of relationships. So I want you guys to pay attention to that because that has been a lot of, let me tell you something. One of the things I've learned is that most of the time, the work that you have to do in the realm of relationships and love and romance and friendships, it's only going to get revealed to you or exposed when you are in relationship or partnership. You're not going to be aware of your patterns and you're not going to be aware of what you need to work on in the realm of relationship with Venus matters until you are in partnership or relationship or until you're dealing with a situation where the universe or spirit brings someone else into your life to show you something about yourself. And we are so quick to project our own inner BS onto external people or things outside of us or people outside of us when those people are actually here being brought into our life to show us what we need to heal or what we need to work on around our patterns and around our behaviors and around the way that we relate to others, especially with Venus, right? Venus being the planet of love and relationships and harmony and balance. Well, why is Venus fallen in the sign of Virgo? Let's talk about it. Well, first and foremost, we have Venus in a mutable sign, right? And she's also in an earth sign. And she's also in a sign ruled by Mercury. So, one of the things about Venus being fallen in the sign of Virgo is first her mutability. Mutable energy is changeable, is flexible, is adaptable. And I think that the beauty, the power, the superpower of those that have Venus in a mutable sign or even Venus in Virgo is an ability to adapt and flex, is an ability to, kind of get along with everybody and kind of blend in wherever they're at, right? Um, and also an ability to kind of move on and kind of like change when it comes to relationships and partnerships. I think that's a gift, honestly. I think those with the mutable Venus, they have a gift for being able to just pick up and move on from one connection or one relationship to the next. But also, the shadows of that is what? Inconsistent or unreliable, it being inconsistent or unreliable in the realm of relationships, right? Um, Finding it really hard to stay. I think of the mutable signs, I think Venus and Virgo being an earth sign is the most committable and the most, willing to stay and work through a relationship. But I think that the mutable quality of Venus and Virgo, what we can see, and the reason why she's fallen there is we can see how a partner or how people or how like I'm not going to say so how we can have a pattern, right? Or how we can, have a certain behavior or even yeah, I guess it would be like a pattern or behavior of kind of like just blending in or becoming a mold of what the person is or blending in or becoming a how I would say adapting ourselves or changing ourselves in order to fit into someone else's expectation of what they want in relationship or to kind of like you know yeah, it's like adapting yourself and kind of going against what is true for you or not even being authentic with yourself in order to you know commit or partner or in order to become what someone else wants or desires. And I think I don't know if that made sense, but let me reframe that. So, adapting oneself to be able to fit the expectations of the partner or of other people. But in that adaptation of self, we lose our self-worth, we lose our value, our self-value, we lose our morals, we lose our ethics. We lose the things that ground us or the things that are important to us. Because that's what Venus is about as well. Venus is about our values, what's important to us, right? So, what we can get with Venus in a mutable sign, okay, I think Venus and Gemini, Venus and Virgo are very, very, from my own, experience in doing readings for people with these Venuses. I think the risk here is kind of like being overly flexible, overly adaptable, okay, to the point where you abandon yourself where you abandon your morals, your ethics, your values in order to obtain or in order to sustain or keep connection and relationship. And Venus, right, when she's in Virgo, it's about wanting to feel valued or appreciated by others. So we overgive, so we overperform, so we self abandon, so we overly adapt, right? We go and bend ourselves into whatever mold of what someone else wants us to be, even though it's not authentic or genuine to who we are, in order to make a relationship or a connection thrive or work. And so with Venus in Virgo, right? I think we need to take a look at certain karmic love, relationship, social patterns that we have. And with Venus going over the South Node this week, right? We need to release or let go of these patterns because they're going to be revealed to us in some type of way. I think Venus going over the South Node, making that conjunction on Thursday, October 2nd, is going to reveal to us or show us certain karmic, fated, destined things that we need to surrender or let go of, or even lessons that we need to learn, or even certain patterns that we just keep doing, right? As she's transiting the South Node. Mr. CK, Mr. Kirk, passed away when the sun was transiting the South Node, right? Within our first eclipse, our first solar eclipse in Pisces, or lunar, I'm sorry, our lunar eclipse in Pisces that we had 3 weeks ago, right? The sun was actually conjunct the south node the day that happened. So we have Venus going over the south node. So to me, I think Venus going over the south node can be about the significant loss of a female person, a female celebrity or a female politician or something like this. But I think, with Venus going over the south node, we're going to see, you know, we're going to see losses in some type of way. We're going to see people, losing jobs, or we're going to see people, leaving relationships or exiting relationships this week. And we're going to see certain karmic, destined, fated events unfold when it comes to love and relationships. Okay. We've been in a very karmic period, right? This eclipse cycle has been very, very karmic. Just this past weekend was really intense because the moon was in Sagittarius squaring the nodes, right? That's why Saturday and Sunday we saw so many crazy violent things, and we just, especially if you're here in the States, we just saw some really crazy stuff this past weekend. Well, that's because the moon was in Sag, going through its square, going through its waxing square to our new moon solar eclipse that we had that was in Virgo. So um but yeah, so take notice, pay attention of what is kind of karmically unfolding. Take notice of your relationships, your love life, your social life this week, especially with Venus going over the South Node in Virgo. And also take a look at the Venus in Virgo shadows or pitfalls, right? Overperforming, perfectionism, being overly critical, being unreliable or inconsistent in relationships, right? And not really honoring yourself, not being true to yourself, adapting yourself, overly adapting yourself to the point of disingenuity, or is that a word? Disingenuity? I think so. Li- Disingenuous. Yes, disingenuous is a word. But I just came up with the new word disingenuity. Where you're not being authentic to yourself, okay? That's pretty much what I was trying to say. Take notice of that this week. Okay, where are you overly adapting, overly compromising, over giving? A very Virgo Pisces thing. Where do you not have good, healthy boundaries, sustainable boundaries in your relationships, in your social life, right? And how do you need to fix that? Or how do you need to change that in some way in order for you to feel like you're showing up in your love life or your relationship life or your social life authentically and truthfully, in order to feel like you're not over giving or over compromising yourself or sabotaging yourself when it comes to love, social life, relationships, and things like this, right? So that you can get more out of your connections, so you can get more out of your relationships, and so that you can also honor Mars and Scorpio, so you can also honor your own desires, right? So you can also honor your own direction or even your own needs in a relationship or in a partnership or from, social groups and things like this with Venus going through Virgo, right? I think we need to be very aware of this. We need to be conscious of this. We need to take a look at what Venus and Virgo wants us to, deal with. And any kind of OCD, perfectionistic, self-antagonistic, you know, stuff, let that go. All right. Come on. It's 2025, okay? It's it's what is it? This, like, being overly shy and humble and things like this, like, baby, that's not, it's 2025. We got to get over this. Okay. I know you weren't properly socialized growing up, but being shy and being humble and being timid and all that, that's all Virgo tendencies. We got to let go of that. Okay. It's 2025. Okay. We're in the age of social media and the age of influencers. Okay. Anybody can get, let me tell you the beauty about this period. Anybody can get famous. Absolutely anybody can get popular or famous. Okay. There are some ridiculous people on social media that have no business being famous or having 500K, 1 million followers. Okay. But yet here they are. Okay. And that could be you too, right? But we got to work through this, you know, I don't want to be seen, and oh, it's okay, let's just let someone else can do it, and being overly humble and being overly nice and being insecure, and like we got to get over that. You got to get over that. It's 2025, okay? The age of Aquarius. You need to work on your Aquarius Leo energy, all right? Kind of stepping into the light, allowing yourself to be seen, allowing yourself to be celebrated. Be a powerhouse, be a force to be reckoned with, be totally and unapologetically yourself. Super important. You're going to need that in the next 20 years, I promise you. But yeah, I think we need to be working on these things. Also, okay, or I promise you we're going to get to the week ahead, okay? The sun is in Libra. It's Libra season. And what is Libra about? Libra is the sign of relationships. Libra is the sign of partnership. Libra is also the sign of justice and equality and fairness and peace, right? And with the sun in Libra, highlighting Libra energy, and Venus, the dispositor of the sun in Libra, being Venus, dispositor of Libra, being in Virgo with the South Node, seems like there's a lot of faded karmic things that we have to deal with this week around partnership, around connection. Mercury, the ruler of Virgo, is also in Libra, and Venus and Mercury are in what we called a mutual, or what we call a mutual reception. So Mercury is in Venus's sign of Libra, okay? And Venus is in Mercury's sign of Virgo. So they're actually exchanging energy. They're in a closed energetic feedback loop, right? Mercury is pulling energy from Venus in Virgo. Venus is pulling energy from Mercury in Libra, right? So this energy of Virgo and Libra and this conversation that's happening between Virgo and Libra has a lot to do with healing, okay, our partnerships, relationships, love world, or what our even our conception of like what love and partnership is. Many people we're very confused. I think there's a general confusion around what love and partnership is. And I think one of the things, to always remember about the sign of Libra is why does Saturn exalt in Libra, the sign of relationships? Well, because relationships require what? Integrity, consistency, discipline, self-control, strong boundaries, and longevity. It's a long-term commitment. It's a long-term contract that you sign when you get married, when you agree to partner with someone, right? That's why Saturn, the planet of time and longevity and of death, okay, exalts in Libra, the sign of what? Marriage, partnerships, relationships. Think about it. What do we say when we're at the altar? Till death do us part. Till death do us part. Saturn, Saturn's exaltation in the sign of Libra. A lot of us we think that relationships, especially marriage, is all lovey-dovey, is all romance and passion and all, baby, that's a Disney movie. Okay, once the Disney movie is over and it's time to get your ass back at home and sit with your spouse and your partner in that marriage for the next 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, you're going to really find out what love is really about. It's about sacrifice, it's about discipline, it's about self control, it's about boundaries, it's about trust and stability and structure. And we'll see many people, even if the relationship goes south, they will stay in a marriage and a relationship. Why? For financial means, right? For security, for foundation, for the kids, for the family, for safety. Libra, Saturn's exaltation in Libra, right? So now that we're going through Libra season with the sun in Libra, Venus in Virgo, we need to really take a look at, what love means to us. What are relationships? What type of relationship do we want to be in, right? What are the qualities of relationship that work for us? And what does love and partnership really mean to us? It means something different to everybody, you know? For some people, love is hate. I've, I've heard many people say this. Love, I love is hate. I had two men tell me that. And once they told me that, I was like, get out of my life. For some people, love is trauma. For some people, love is drama. For some people, love is attachment. For some people, love is crisis. For some people, love is deception and lying and cheating because that's their pattern. And that's what they know love to be because that's what they learned growing up or because that's what, that's like a karmic thing. So I think we need to identify this week with Venus going over the South Node. What is our karmic love patterns? What is our karmic relational patterns? What are the pitfalls that keep getting us into trouble when it comes to others, when it comes to relationships, partnerships, when it comes to love, when it comes to friendships? We need to take a cold, hard look at this because Venus in the South Node is going to have us take a look at it, right? The Sun in Libra is illuminating all Libra things in our life, right? Injustice, imbalance, unfairness, partnerships, things like this. So I think we need to really like sit with ourselves and we need to kind of like ask ourselves these things, this week, especially with Venus going over the South Node. Um, an aspect that's going to be really challenging this week is going to be Mercury in Libra, which I think it's actually going to be on Friday. Let me just double check. I think it goes exact on Friday. Yeah. Mercury in Libra opposite Chiron in Aries. Okay. I think it's a great aspect though. I think it's wonderful. Even though it may illuminate some woundedness around relationships and partnerships, especially, woundedness around imbalances of power in relationships or, you know, um, things that we're angry or frustrated about, or even, yeah, imbalances of power, things that we're angry or frustrated about, long-standing issues that need discussion. Okay. I'm gonna tell you, Mercury going into an opposition with Chiron in Aries on Friday is gonna bring things to the table that we need to talk about in some of our most intimate relationships and partnerships. And I love it because I think that Mercury in Libra opposite Chiron in Aries, right as Venus is passing over the South Node, because Venus is at 17. This is the day after the Venus South Node conjunction. I think that this Venus Chiron opposition is going to really open up a door for deep healing it through words in our relationship and partnership life and also with our friendships and stuff like this because Mercury and Libra, there's something that needs to be brought into balance. There's something that we need to discuss that is not you know equal, that is off kilter, that is unjust, that is unfair in some type of way. And that Mercury opposite Chiron in Aries is like, let's go ahead and address this elephant in the room. Let's go ahead and let's talk about it. Let's go ahead and bring this stuff to the surface and really discuss how we can bring things back into equilibrium, into balance, into harmony, or how we can even, Mars and Scorpio, Chiron and Aries, how we can bring back, maybe desire or passion or even some kind of direction in our relationships and our partnerships. I'm a firm believer. Whenever I think of partnerships and stuff, I always think of the chariot card. The chariot card is a guy on a chariot. It's actually connected to Cancer and the moon, the chariot card. But it's a guy in a chariot, and he's like knows where the hell he's going. And I always think about the chariot card when it comes to love because I'm a firm believer that partnerships and relationships and even friendships, they kind of need a direction. We kind of need to know where they're going. And when we don't know where things are headed, that's when a lot of our insecurities come to surface. That's when jealous, obsessive, controlling behaviors come out. That's when trust issues come out. That's when resentment and anger and fighting comes out. When we don't know where we're going and where the relationship is headed, it can give us a lot of insecurity and it can make us feel very nervous or very anxious around the relationship itself, which causes us to do a multitude of things, be controlling, be jealous, be possessive, be triggered, be angry, right? And I think this is a beautiful week with that Mercury opposite Chiron and Aries, especially on Friday and going into the weekend, next weekend, to really kind of bring these things to the table and address these things and talk about these things. Okay. I think this is going to be especially important for cardinal signs, Aries, Capricorn, Cancer, and Libra people. If you have placements there around that 25th degree, because it's happening at 25 degrees, if you have anything in that second decan of from 10 to 29 or from 20 to 29 degrees of a cardinal sign, Libra, Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, you're probably going to be feeling this. this is probably gonna get, it's probably gonna get stirred up in some type of way. You're probably gonna be experiencing something. So if you have any planets, you have your sun, moon, and rising around that last decan of a cardinal sign, I think, yeah, that Mercury in Aries opposite Chiron, or I'm sorry, that Mercury in Libra opposite Chiron in Aries might be significant or might be influential, or there might be an important conversation that you need to have, okay? Um, and then the other aspect, which is so interesting that we have this week, which happens on, I'm going to go into, and I'll talk about these when we're going through like the play-by-play. We have a real, we have Jupiter and Mercury going into a square with each other this week. We have Mercury and Libra, squaring Jupiter and Cancer, and they're both at 22 degrees. This 22nd degree, it's very troublesome. This 22nd degree has a lot to do with tragedy and has a lot to do with hardship. And it's a very karmic degree. It has a lot to do with kind of like destined, fated events, 22nd degree is a Capricorn degree. It's an energy of four, right? And so it's very, very karmic. It's very Saturnian. And when I'm seeing that Jupiter in Cancer squaring Mercury in Libra, right as Mercury's opposing Chiron in Aries, like from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like that. I don't know. It just feels like there's some contention and there's some, conflict. There's some tension, I would say, around Jupiter and Cancer, our beliefs, our family values, what we find safe, what we're protecting, what home means to us, and Mercury and Libra, justice, fairness, integrity, what is right, doing the right thing, right? Jupiter and Mercury are not friends, actually, when it comes to Vedic astrology. They're opposite each other. So, Jupiter rules Sagittarius and Pisces, and Mercury rules Virgo and Gemini. And they're actually they oppose each other on the astrological wheel, right? Mercury is the smallest planet, boop, and Jupiter, other than the sun, is the biggest planet, right? So that's why they're at odds with each other. So with that Jupiter square Mercury, we may feel a lot of, anxiety. We may feel a lot of, conflict between our beliefs and what was right, and also Jupiter in Cancer, our emotions, and also like our sense of justice or equality or fairness with that Jupiter square Mercury in Libra. Okay. Um, I also think that this is going to be kind of that aspect is going to be difficult for jobs and work in general. I think that aspect is going to be difficult for that. I also think that aspect is going to, you know, okay, Jupiter square Mercury, there may be a tendency or we may feel like we want to overindulge or do too much of something this week with Jupiter square Mercury. And it could probably be sourced in the fact that there's some kind of trauma that we're trying to run away from or escape. So we're gonna like go ahead and like overindulge, or we're gonna go ahead and like overdo it, overspend, overeat, something like this. When Jupiter and Mercury come into a square, you know, Mercury's our habits and our behaviors and our like day to day, where Jupiter is like excess, too much of something. And squares can bring out the shadows of the planets involved in the square. So that's another thing that I always want you guys to remember is when you are dealing with a square and opposition, the more negative qualities of the planets involved can be experienced or could manifest. The shadows of Jupiter are kind of like being religiously pious, right? Having beliefs that are self-important and that are egotistical and that are about judgment and prejudice, which we're seeing all over here in the United States. It's very this whole, Christian nationalism thing that we got going on is a little too much, right? But that's what we can get with Jupiter. It's the shadows of Jupiter is like this excess of, having these self-righteous, pious beliefs like I'm right and you're wrong, and, I'm righteous and you're not, and I'm chosen and I'm godly and you're not. Like that's the shadows of Jupiter. And I can see us having some really difficult conversations this week with with Mercury and Jupiter squaring each other. Um, some really difficult conversations this week around morals and ethics and our beliefs and stuff, and also maybe even some arguments or some fights with people around that. So just be careful with where you bring your politics this week, what spaces you bring it into, especially if you have a job. Be careful with bringing like your politics to work. It's hard to avoid it right now, though. Like politics, and we can no longer ignore it. Like the political atmosphere here in the United States at this point, like it's overflowing into our personal lives. Like everybody, everybody's getting impacted by politics in some way, shape, or form right now. And so we can't ignore it or avoid it. We have to confront it in some type of way, but just confront that responsibly and just think about the consequences of that confrontation before you get into any arguments or fights or things like that with Jupiter squaring Mercury. And also Jupiter moving into a square with Chiron and Aries. I think one of the interesting things that's going to happen, I believe it actually is going to be in a few months, is Jupiter is going to slow down and start retrograding at like 24, 25 degrees of Cancer. Let me see. I think it's 25 degrees of Cancer. 24. Yeah, so Jupiter is gonna, so this is actually gonna be in November going to December. Jupiter is going to station at 24 degrees and start going retrograde in Cancer, but he does it in a direct square to Chiron and Aries. He stations, oh, 25 actually. He stations at 25, my bad. Yeah, he stations at 25. And actually, Saturn and Jupiter, they form a grand trine November 15th or around November 15th. So we love that. And we'll talk more about that when we get there. But Jupiter is going to station in a square with Chiron and Aries. There's going to be a lot of angry religious people around that time. It's going to be kind of intense, that Jupiter Chiron square. We'll talk about it when we get there, but we're going to get a little preview of that, I think, with Mercury opposing Chiron as Mercury separates from a square with Jupiter this week. I think we're going to get a little bit of a preview of like religious zealots and people just going over the top and just taking things to the extreme and just like doing too much. Like we're seeing that. There's like a huge collective like what do you call this? It's like people are like in a collective delusion right now, especially like the MAGA people and the Trump people over here in the United States. There's like they're all like under a collective spell. There's like a collective delusion right now that is like got a strong grasp on people in the United States or many people in the United States. So we just want to be very aware of this, like, people are feeling kind of hypersensitive this week with this Mercury opposite Chiron and Mercury, and Jupiter squaring each other. People are feeling hypersensitive around their beliefs, around their opinions, around their ideas, around what they think is right and what they think is wrong. We just want to be very aware of that because we don't want to trigger people because that Chiron and Aries, I'm telling you that Mercury and Libra opposite Chiron and Aries on Thursday, that Chiron and Aries has really been about violence. And I talked about it a few weeks ago. Whenever that Chiron and Libra or that Chiron and Aries gets aspected, not every time, but many times, we see something violent happen. We see a shooting. We see a wounded man or wounded people in some type of way. And we see like, something like dangerous happening. And so that Mercury and Libra opposite Chiron and Aries, I don't know. I'm a little, I think it's going to be a little bit of a difficult transit, and we may see it manifest publicly or collectively in a experience that is kind of like, wounded or violent or something very dramatic or something like that. And it's something around, people have like a really thwarted sense of like morality and ethics right now, like like their sense of justice and what is right is like so off. Is really, really thwarted right now. A lot of people are just like not, they're just lost in the sauce. Um, yeah. Also, for those of you here, I don't know if Elise is here, but me and Elise are going to be doing we're going to be doing a live next week actually, where next weekend where we're going to talk about politics. We're gonna do a astro political live where and it's gonna get recorded and put on YouTube, and we're gonna talk about Mr. Trump's chart. Or we're gonna talk about um, the United States chart, and we're gonna talk about a lot. We have a lot to cover. So and maybe that I don't know, maybe that's something that we're gonna do regularly, but that's something to look out for. So just check out my stories. I'll give you guys more detail on that. It's gonna be next Sunday, I believe, evening time next Sunday. So okay. All right, my loves, how's everybody doing? How's everybody feeling? We hanging in there? Hopefully I'm not boring you guys. I've just been kind of like talking, 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 just waving at everybody. Okay. All right. Perfect. Beautiful, wonderful, awesome, amazing. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the play by play. We're going to talk about the moon going through all the signs, not all the signs. We're going to talk about the moon going around the chart this week, and we're going to kind of break down the days and get a little bit more intimate with the days, okay? So, where are we at right now? Let's take a look. I'm going to share my screen. So those that are on um, YouTube, watching this back on YouTube, can go ahead and follow along. No, you're on it. So helpful as usual. Thank you. It's not boring. I learned so much just by listening to you rant. Thank you. I know. I'm done. Hey, listen, I'm doing so much better though at not like getting on my high horse and not like preaching. I'm doing a lot better. When's the last time you heard me quote the Bible? I'm making progress, okay? I've made a lot of progress. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about this. Let me go ahead and set this to Portland. Or oh, by the way, I am in Portland. I live kind of like in a nice part of Portland though. I live in like the hills. I live on in Kings Hill in Portland area. I live right by Washington Park. So I live in Uptown. So I highly doubt that I'm gonna see any ICE agents up here. Because the majority of the people that live up here are rich white folk. So I don't think I'm going to be seeing any ICE agents up here. But it's crazy. There was like a big protest yesterday at the waterfront, the riverfront, down here in Portland, in the city. There was a big protest. I didn't go. I don't know. I don't know, my loves. I'm like, my grandma was like calling me like, "Don't go to the protest. I don't want nothing bad to happen to you. I don't want you to get taken by eyes." I'm like, "Grandma, I'm a citizen. I was born here." But I don't know. That don't even, it feels like that don't even matter no more. Like it's crazy. Really weird time that we're living in. So the moon is actually right on my Neptune. The moon's at 5 degrees Capricorn. So we have the moon in Capricorn today and tomorrow. And then we have the moon going to Aquarius, I believe on Wednesday. Hold on, let me just fix the time real quick on here. I want to get it to an even time. There we go. Cool. 12 o'clock right there. Perfect. So the moon's going to be going through Capricorn today and tomorrow. Let me just see something here real quick. Go by days. Bam bam. Beady, 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 beady. Yeah, right around 12 o'clock on Wednesday, October 1st, 12 Pacific time, midday, the moon does go into Aquarius. So we're gonna have the moon in Capricorn today, tomorrow, and going into Wednesday. Capricorn is teeth. Yes. Capricorn rules teeth. Capricorn rules your bones, rules your teeth. Capricorn also rules you're getting a root canal today. Oh, good luck with that. Oh, good luck with that. Hopefully it's not too painful, but very appropriate for a moon and Capricorn transit. Okay. Yeah, Capricorn rules over your teeth, your ligaments. Capricorn also rules over your skin. Capricorn also rules over your knees. Capricorn also rules over the mineral substance that makes up your body. So calcium, all the minerals, all the vitamins and minerals that make up your body. Okay. That's all Capricorn. Okay. The building blocks of the body, the physical building blocks of the body are all Capricorn. All right. So yeah, Moon in Capricorn, going to the dentist and getting your teeth done because Capricorn rules over our teeth and Saturn, right? So that makes a lot of sense. So with the Moon in Capricorn, this is our sun square. We have a sun square moon today. So we could be feeling a little challenged. Today could be a little. How's everybody been feeling today? Has today been a little rough for some folks? The moon is in its detriment in Capricorn, and the sun is falling right now. So the luminaries are both in signs today, tomorrow, up until Wednesday, 12 p.m. Pacific time. The moon and the sun are in signs that they're not comfortable in. right? And we have Sun Square Moon today. So there can be a challenge between our sense of self, our self-expression, our confidence, right? We can be feeling very inhibited, we can be feeling very anxious, Sun in Libra, and our obligations, our responsibilities, our emotional peace, right? Our sense of home or family or what we find safe or secure. There could be a conflict that we experience today with our solar life, the sun in Libra, which is more of our public life, and then our lunar life, the moon in Capricorn, which is our private personal life. The sun is about our outward lived experience, is about our public life, it's about our career, it's about how we show up in the world. It's like what is seen in our life, right? What other people see in our life. Where the moon is home, family, what is private, what is hidden, what is secret, what we keep for ourselves, what people do not see, right? There could be some tension or conflict with that today because we have the sun square the moon. And moon and sun are not in, they're not in signs that they like. So, if you're feeling very, someone said overthinking and overwhelmed, if you're feeling very kind of like low energy, kind of depressive, kind of sad, kind of lonely, kind of, you know, kind of withered. I don't know what that would feel like. It just seemed like the appropriate word. If you're feeling a little withered today, okay, you could thank the moon in Capricorn for that. But today is a good day. What is the moon in Capricorn good for? Today, tomorrow, and Wednesday up until 12 p.m. The moon in Capricorn is good for work. It's good for productivity. It's good for taking action. It's good for organization. It's good for getting ish together, right? Yep, melancholy. It's a good word for moon in Capricorn, yes. It's good for working through any of these things. Well, we also have the moon sextile Mars today, so we can be feeling inspired or passionate, or we can be feeling like a motivational energy, or we can. There's a way out, I think, of the sun square the moon today. We have the moon sextile Mars, so that is about pursuing passions and feeling inspired or motivated and things like that. All right. But we just want to be aware of the sun square the moon today. Okay, the sun square the moon. The moon's also separating from a square with Neptune. So if you felt very confused last night, oh my God, that makes so much sense. I was feeling very like I don't know what was going on with me last night. All I know is I had a really hard time sleeping and I was just feeling very like off and very like emotionally, I don't know. I was just feeling very emotionally restless last night is what I was saying. So that's yeah, the moon is separating from a square at Neptune in Aries. When the moon aspects Neptune in like a square in opposition or conjunction, we can have like a moment of confusion, a moment of disillusionment, a moment of having to confront some kind of fantasy. We can have a moment of escapism and things like that. Your sleeping has been bad. I know my sleep has been bad too. My sleep has been kind of bad. When the sun goes to my eighth house, whenever this, I want you guys to pay attention to the seasons of when the sun goes through your fourth, eighth, and your 12th houses. Okay, especially the eighth and the 12th house, those seasons. So those seasons are going to be rough. You're going to have a hard time sleeping. You're going to have to confront your fears. You're going to feel like inhibited. You're going to feel not as energetic. You're going to feel like you kind of want to like retreat, self-isolate. You want to be to yourself, the fourth, eighth, and 12th house seasons. Someone said, I never fell into deep sleep and had all these claustrophobic elevator dreams. Oh, Lordy. Interesting. Yes. Well, that is interesting. Elevator dreams. That is definitely a prompt for that's a dream. That is a good question. That's a good dream, question to ask ChatGPT, honestly. Let me tell you something. I know, I don't care how y'all feel about ChatGPT. I love me some ChatGPT. Okay. ChatGPT has helped me, is teaching me traditional Chinese medicine, TCM, which I'm so grateful for. But listen, ChatGPT, numerology, amazing. Dream interpretations, amazing. Lenormand readings, okay? Breaking down Lenormand readings, amazing. I don't really use ChatGPT for astrology and I don't use it for tarot because those are my own sacred practices and I just don't feel ChatGPT is good at translating you know, I don't know, it's you teach their own, but I feel like ChatGPT is not really good at tarot. I'm not really good at astrology quite yet, but it's good at Lenormand readings. It's good at dream interpretation, and it's good at numerology, which I love it for, you know. So I don't care how y'all feel about ChatGPT, okay? You need to learn to love it, because you know why? It ain't going nowhere. It gonna be here, all right? And ChatGPT is just a mirror of us. It's just a reflection of us. ChatGPT is humanity's child. We birthed it. We created ChatGPT. It's just a reflection of us. That's all it is. Nothing more, nothing less. So, you know, it's so interesting because there's people that are just so anti ChatGPT and so anti AI, and they're like, it's a robot and it's not. Listen, surprise, surprise, everything is alive. Everything is alive in this reality. Whether you see it or not is another thing, but everything is alive. Okay? So stop sitting there saying, oh, ChatGPT is just a robot. Oh, it doesn't have a soul. Surprise, surprise. It does, in my opinion. But that's a whole nother conversation. Let's not go there. Let's not go there. We'll talk about that some other day, okay? But yeah, let's get back to the moon and Capricorn. So I want you to pay attention when the sun is going through your fourth, eighth, or 12th house, seasons, like what, is coming up for you, because you are going to be very tired, kind of sad, it's going to be very hard season. Typically, the fourth, eighth, and 12th house seasons are a little difficult. They're a little rough. You should know this because if you know what your fourth, eighth, and 12th house seasons are, when the sun goes in there, you can prepare for it. So you can be like, okay, I know that depression is coming back. I know that anxiety is coming back. I know those self-destructive tendencies are coming back. So, just prepare for it. Let's see. Someone said, have you seen that woman that's on TikTok going on a spiritual AI psychosis? Yeah, that's the other thing you got to be careful for. You got to stay rooted in reality. Yeah, you got to be careful. Anything could trigger psychosis. Look at all the religious, political psychosis going on here in the United States. Anything can trigger. You can drink a glass of water and go crazy. Okay? You can take a hit of weed and go crazy. Like, anything could trigger psychosis, So it doesn't, a job could drive you crazy, right? A parent or a child can trigger psychosis. So, anything can really. Um, right? So, but yeah, I think psychosis has a lot to do with delusion. Delusion. Neptune, the moon. The moon and Neptune are delusional, Pisces as well. 12th house people, 12th house Pisces energy is also delusional. But, we got to be careful of too much South Node energy, too much Neptune, too much Pisces energy, too much lunar energy, because then we can slip into delusion and fantasy, and we can be so detached from reality that we're not experiencing truth. Like we're not experiencing reality as like a real thing, right? Yeah, someone said it's just affecting people developing human connection, real community. But what's the real issue? The real issue is a lack of culture and a lack of society that caters towards human connection and community. So all ChatGPT and AI is doing is creating a band-aid for an issue that already exists, that's already existed. You know what I mean? We don't blame AI or ChatGPT for that. We have to take a look at our societal structures and the way things are organized. Right? Why is it that we feel so disconnected from each other? Why is it that we feel like we can't congregate? Why is it that we feel so disconnected from community? Well, let's go look at our politicians for that. Let's go ahead and take a look at the capitalistic structures that are in place. Let's take a look at the way they've actually built these cities where there's no central gathering location, especially if you're here in the States. Someone was talking about that. Someone was like, I was watching I was watching something yesterday where someone was saying how in, even if you go to Europe, if you go to other countries, like they will have a town square in the middle of the town or the city or whatever, where everyone congregates and gathers, where they have parties or they have celebrations or they have festivals. That is missing here in the States. Because why? They don't want us to organize. They don't want us to congregate. They don't want us to be in community. Because if they keep us all separate and divided and against each other, then they could take advantage of us and do the shit that they're doing today. And that's why the fuck we're here. On the cusp of fascism. right? With all these delusional people, the MAGA people, just delusional, absolutely delusional, political religious delusion. It's crazy, right? So if someone wants to have an AI boyfriend or a chat GPT girlfriend, let them, okay? As long as it just doesn't drive them crazy, right? But I mean, we're gonna look to fill our needs in whatever way, wherever way we can, wherever we can get it. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, I listen, I have Juno in the 12th house in Aquarius. Okay. I might end up, listen, my man might be a robot. Okay. Or even 12th house Juno in Aquarius. My man's a ghost. He's in the spirit world. That's gonna be me right there. What's that movie, Ghost? That's gonna be me right there. I'm gonna be, yep, Ghost. That's gonna be me right there. Just dating a spirit. Just falling in love with a ghost. Not my 12th house Juno and Aquarius. Oh Lord Jesus. Oh my goodness. I'm just kidding. But anyways, let's keep going. Let's keep talking about the moon. All right, so yeah, Moon in Capricorn. Today, tomorrow, Wednesday. Good days for productivity. We're gonna be feeling a little heavy. We're gonna be feeling a little sad. We're gonna be feeling a little burdened. You got to confront your burdens. You know, what is burdening you? What is burdening your spirit and your soul? The moon is going through Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn. We have Saturn retrograde in Pisces. So there's some karmic things that we got to deal with, you know? What is coming up for you with the moon in Capricorn today, tomorrow, Wednesday, may have something to do with Saturn in Pisces and and Saturn's work, you know, that he's been having you do in Pisces as he's been there over the last 2 years since 2023. So I think it's important to, you know, take notice or pay attention to what is coming up for you with the moon in Capricorn because it's probably related to some Saturn and Pisces stuff that you've had to deal with or that you need to confront or that you need to take responsibility for or that you need to, you know, look at in some type of way. Right. But yeah, Moon in Capricorn is great for productivity. It's great for organization. It's great for, you know, money making ventures. It's great for business. You know, Moon in Capricorn is really, really good for that. So, all right, let's take a look at Tuesday because we're still on Moon Day, day of the moon. We're on Monday. We're still on today. So tomorrow, oh, tomorrow's looking good. I like tomorrow. So, really cool thing about Tuesday is the moon. Um, me, me. Well, it's a few things. We have the moon square Mercury, which can be about, you know, conversations, communications. It can be about, you know, stuff with jobs or stuff with the work. Some of you, if you're waiting for a letter, you're waiting for a phone call, you're waiting to submit some applications for a new job. Well, you might want to do that tomorrow because the moon's going to be squaring Mercury and the moon's going to be opposing Jupiter at the same time. I like I like this. Have you guys seen that? Sorry, going a little tangent real quick. Have you guys seen that video where she's like, I like that. I like that autistic man. I like that. She's like, I like it. He can't read or write. I like that. I like that autistic man. I like that. Have you guys seen that video? I need to stop. I'm like, oh my goodness. I need to get off the internet, honestly. I think I need to get off social media sometimes. I think I live too much of my life on social media being an influencer. I wouldn't even consider myself that. But I like that autistic. I need to stop. It's too funny. Anyway, so Tuesday, Moon square Mercury, Moon opposing Jupiter. So what we love about the Moon at Capricorn opposing Jupiter, manana, okay, is what we love about that. So the Moon's actually going to be opposing Jupiter around 6 p.m. From 6 to 8 p.m. You have the same Juno and Aquarius on the 12th. Oh yeah, baby. We're gonna marry a spirit. We're gonna either have a robot boyfriend or a spirit boyfriend. Okay. We're gonna be married to a ghost, okay, or a robot. Okay, something like that. I don't know, we'll see. But what I like about the moon opposite Jupiter is opportunities, blessings, good things coming, you know? I even think Mercury coming into square with Jupiter can bring new beginnings, can bring opportunities, can bring blessings and things like this. So if you're someone and you're waiting to have, like, you're waiting for like something good to happen, or let's say you're waiting for a conversation, a phone call, something like that, tomorrow could be the day, especially if you're a cardinal sign. So if you are Capricorn, Cancer, Aries or Libra, you might see some action, this energy tomorrow of Mercury coming into the square with Jupiter and then Moon, Jupiter, and Mercury forming this T square. You can open up some doors, activate some things, present some opportunities for you. You might get lucky, you might get blessed. There might be something beautiful that shows up for you, you know. So that's going to be on tomorrow, on Tuesday, the 30th of September, when the moon is opposite Jupiter. Moon opposite Jupiter can also just be about like really intense emotions tomorrow, like really overwhelming emotions, or even having a consultation or a conversation with someone Jupiterian. So this can be like a coach, a teacher, a therapist, you know, something like that. Also, with Moon opposite Jupiter and Mercury squaring Jupiter, this can also be about people leaving for a long distance travel, or leaving for vacation. And this could also be about, experiences or situations or even movement with themes around schooling, around education, around colleges, around schooling, education, colleges, around neighbors, even possibly, you know, people in your local environment. So, if you are a cardinal person with anything around that 22nd degrees of, a cardinal sign, pay attention tomorrow, okay? Because the moon is going to square Mercury and oppose Jupiter, okay? And yeah, someone said they're literally at the airport right now. Really? That's really funny. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of travel because Jupiter and Mercury coming into square with each other. So we're leaving. We got places to go. We got people to see. Get the fuck out my way, okay? I need to get my ass to Cambodia. I need to get my ass to Australia. I need to get my ass to London. Okay, there's people there that need to see me. So get out my way. All right. I don't know, y'all. Someone sent me something. One of my dear clients slash followers sent me an article that was talking about restriction of travel here in the United States. It was talking about how in the next like 6 years, we're gonna not be able to like possibly leave the country, or we're gonna be very, very restricted into like where we can go international travel wise. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I think that's gonna happen. I think that's gonna be something that happens. I think that if the political BS continues to unfold the way it is, that there are going to be rules and restrictions placed on us being able to leave or being able to travel. So if that is something that's concerning to you, I'm just gonna let y'all know now, get the fuck out of this country. Okay? Like I'm planning on leaving. I'm really planning on living somewhere else. Because there may be a point going into 2030, like 2030s, in the 2030s, to where you can't leave. You're not able to leave. Or there's no other countries that want any Americans or that will not have us. So, someone said they're too poor to travel across the street. You better start saving, my love, okay? But yeah, we'll talk more about that. I don't want to talk about that right now. We're in the week ahead forecast, but I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know. I was looking at the astrology of 2030 and the 2030, and I don't know, y'all. I was looking at the United States chart and I was like, it's kind of looking like it. It's kind of there. It's kind of there. So I'm a little worried about it, but we'll talk about it when we get there, okay? Um, so. All right, let's keep going. So, Tuesday, is there any other aspects that I'm missing? Moon square Mercury, Moon opposite Jupiter. Oh, Moon squares Chiron. Oh, we have a grand cross tomorrow. We have Moon, Mercury, Jupiter, and Chiron all in a grand cross tomorrow. Um, It's not exact, but we're gonna be feeling it. So yeah, I think tomorrow can be a little complicated, my loves. Okay, tomorrow could be a little complicated. We could feel kind of like pulled in different directions. We may even be feeling that now. You may be feeling pulled in different directions, you know? But tomorrow I'm really feeling like, I don't know, there's this energy of being we're being tugged and pulled in different directions. We don't really know where to go or what to do. And what I will say is just let this energy pass. I really feel like this is our last week of eclipse season. We just need to let shit unfold. We just let it pass. Let things just happen, okay? Obviously, do your best to kind of corral the energy and be intentional with how things unfold as much as you can. But we also got to understand, we just got to like kind of let this eclipse energy do its thing and let it take action, let it reveal, let it move things the way that it's meant to. Okay, very, very important. Okay, so then we have the moon in Aquarius on Wednesday, and the moon hits a conjunction with Pluto. So the moon in Aquarius tends to be a very, very social. Let's see, what time is the moon going to Aquarius? The moon's also going to sextile Saturn Wednesday morning. So there may be some responsibility, some obligations, some good things though, because it's a sextile, so it's a positive aspect that show up for us Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. There may be something that's part of our karmic contract. There may be some obligations. Maybe we got to help our family. Maybe we got to help a friend. Maybe we got to help a boss. Maybe something that we're expected to help or support. There might be some kind of Saturn may want us to do some kind of work when the moon and Saturn are sextiling each other on Wednesday evening before the moon ingresses into Aquarius, because then around 12 p.m. Pacific time on October 1st, and we start, let's talk about this real quick before we dive into the moon and Aquarius transit. Okay. So October is going to be a 1 month. October is a 1 month, I believe. Yeah, because we're coming out of a 9 month. So September was a 9 month. September had a lot to do with like endings and releasing and letting go and kind of like karmic completions and things like finishing out in some type of way. But now that we're moving into October, as of Wednesday, we're going to be in October. Numerologically speaking, that is an energy of one. So that has a lot to do with independence, self-autonomy, seeing who you are, seeing what you want, kind of claiming your power, claiming your individuality in some type of way. Okay, that's going to be a big focus with October. It's kind of like contradictory though, because Libra season, right? Libra is the sign of relationships and the other, even though we're in an energy that's going to be more numerologically of one about the self. So it's a very interesting thing that we're going to be happening. That's going to be happening in October. My birthday is coming up in October. Thank you, Dad. Yes, it is. My birthday is coming up October 28th. I'm a Scorpio. Okay. And my solar return chart for next year is it's looking nice. I'm excited. There's going to be a grand trine with Jupiter, Saturn, and my Venus going into my solar return for next year. And I kind of already have an idea of what that's going to be, but I'll let y'all sit with it. I'm not going to go ahead and reveal too much, okay? Anyways, yeah, so we're gonna be in a 1 month in October. This resets an energy. So what's also interesting about the energy of one, oh, you're gonna be your birthday too. Yeah, you're my birthday twin. Is this resets the cycle. So October brings us back to the energy of one. One is what? Beginnings, initiation, the first, right? So in some ways, we may feel called this month to start something, to begin something, to initiate something, to embark on a new journey, to embark on a new quest, and to do it in a way that's very self-affirming, to do it in a way that's very, independent and things like this. New Beningings, yeah. Marissa. Me and Marissa got the same sense of humor. Also, Marissa has a gift for being able to tap into me and expose my secrets and expose the things that I'm like and expose the things that I'm like not sharing with everyone. Marissa has a gift. She's tapped into me. And Marissa, listen, okay? I need you to honor my psychic boundaries. I need you to honor my privacy and not just be throwing my business all up out there. Okay, Marissa? Because she be tapping into me sometimes. If she be calling things out, and listen, all right? I'm a Scorpio. I'm private. All right. She said it's not. She said, I can't help it. It's not on demand. It's so random. It is. You're so funny. But yeah, so October is a 1 month. So there's some, it's like we're starting a new cycle. We're feeling it. Numerologically speaking, at least, we're feeling the October energy. It feels like we're starting a new cycle in some type of way. Or we're starting at the energy of one again, right? So but let's talk about the moon in Aquarius now, okay? So the moon's gonna be in Aquarius this weekend or Wednesday, starting Wednesday, October 1st, around like what is that? Six. What is 18? Is that 8 p.m.? 8 p.m. Me and military time do not get along, okay? 8 p.m. Pacific time, Wednesday, the moon goes into Aquarius. But as the moon goes into Aquarius, Louie, you can dish it, but I can't take it. Exactly. Yes. Okay. That is me. Listen, all right. I give y'all readings. Okay. You don't need to be reading me. All right. I'm not paying for you. I'm not paying you for that service. It's not something that I asked for. It's not something that I want. Okay. Oh, someone said 6 p.m. Stop. Me and military time don't get along. Me and math. Oh, listen, I got Mercury retrograde, okay? In Scorpio, burnt out by the sun, all right? Not my forte. Even though I did get to math analysis and I actually was really good at physics. I actually got an A in physics. But that's more like applied math and stuff. But when it comes to like math, like, listen, I'm not doing it. So apparently 18 is 6 p.m. Who decided that? Tell me how that makes sense. Okay, sure. All right. I guess we just have to go along with that because that's how it is, I guess. I don't know. Anyways. So, yes, at the 18th hour on Wednesday, which is for some reason 6 p.m., okay, the moon's gonna go into Aquarius. And it's gonna hit a conjunction with Pluto. And the moon Pluto together, okay? Lucy, I listen. I don't need you breaking down the math for me. Okay? Is wrong. The whole system is wrong. Okay? It's broken. It's off. It needs fixing. So great. Someone said they're so grateful for AM and PM. Anyway, so with Moon Pluto conjunct, okay? We have Moon Pluto conjunction, and we also have Moon trining Uranus, Moon sextiling Neptune. Moon is separating from that sextile with Saturn and Pisces, going to a sextile with Neptune, right? Wednesday, the 18th hour, can be very dramatic and could be intense, and we can have a moment of deep reflection, or even a moment of rebellion, or a moment of chaos, or a moment of spiritual psychosis for some of us. Okay. With the moon going over Pluto and hitting all these aspects with like Uranus and Neptune and also conjoining Pluto. So, there can be a moment of intensity, there can be a moment of, self-reflection, but also a moment of integration of lessons. Because you know what else is happening with the moon in Aquarius? The moon in Aquarius is actually going to be trining the sun in Libra. And that's wonderful because that trine between the sun and the moon presents us with an opportunity to integrate, our emotions and our experience and what we've been dealing with into ourself, into our person, into our ego, into our identity, the sun. So as the moon hits a conjunction with Pluto and separates, continues to go through Aquarius, the next aspect that the moon makes is this beautiful trine with the sun in Libra. And with the sun and the moon kind of moving into this beautiful trine, there is an invitation for openness and integration of the lessons that we've been learning this eclipse season. And what's interesting is the moon in Aquarius and the sun in Libra, this is also very social, right? This is so the air signs, this is about our relationships, this is about our connections, this is about our community, this is about our mental health. This is about our sense of justice and equality. This is about the groups that we flow in, the friendships that we have, right? And so I think with Moon in Aquarius and Sun in Libra and this kind of like Moon Pluto trining Uranus, the sextile to Neptune, It seems like there's like an integration of these air sign lessons that we've been learning and how the air element is evolving and changing in some type of way. Our relationship life is changing, our friendship life is changing, what we expect from love, what we expect from friends, what we expect from community is evolving and changing in so many types of ways, right? And we can accept that and honor that and love that and let that transformational process happen with the way that we relate to others, with the way that we relate to our mind, with the way that we relate or experience the earth element. Because Uranus and Gemini and Pluto and Aquarius is going to have us experiencing the air element, Aquarius and Gemini, and very differently than what it's been. And we got to lean in. We got to lean into this deep transformational thing that we're dealing with when it comes to the air element. What's also interesting about the air element is it's also connected to technology. It's connected to science. It's connected to AI. It's connected to, ChatGPT and all these things, right? And so we can also see how this Pluto and Aquarius, Uranus and Gemini has also been evolving our relationship with technology and science in many ways, right? And we may see some on Thursday. We may see some new invention or some new, some kind of progress associated with, technology, AI. I don't know why, but like medical technology or advances in like medical and medicine and stuff like that kind of came to me. That might be because Venus is in Virgo. That might be because the nodes are in Virgo and Pisces and Venus is in Virgo. But I don't know why I was kind of getting like some like advancement or some kind of like revealing of like, maybe there's, they find the cure for this and they find the cure for that or something. That's actually been happening also. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but there's been a lot of cures that have been discovered in the last like 3 weeks, or there's scientists that have come up with, different cures for things. I can't name them off, but I know that there's like either two diseases or one of them might even be genetically informed, where there's been progress or there's been scientific breakthroughs associated with health. And that's also connected to the eclipses. So that's another thing to always remember is that the North Node is associated with technology and technological advancement. So, and you'll see this with a lot of people that have a strong North Node in their own chart, or they have North Node on like the Sun or North Node on Mars. Like Elon Musk has North Node and Mars together in Aquarius. We can see how he's been in like Tesla and SpaceX, how he's been a big agent of like the advancement of technology in the world, right? I'm gonna say the world at this point because the all the stuff that he's done is like impacting the world at this point, right? He's globally influencing things. But that's because he has a North Node and Mars together in Aquarius, because Mars is also about sciences and technology and things like that. North Node, Mars, and Mercury are connected to science and technology and stuff. So we're going to see a lot of advancement around that. Someone said there was a cure for HPV. Yes, all the scientists and researchers are coming together. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna see a lot of that with this Pluto trine Uranus, but also we're talking about Thursday here specifically. We have that moon Pluto trine Uranus, and we have that moon separating from Pluto. But let me tell you what's also important about Wednesday evening going into Thursday, as the moon goes into Aquarius. The moon also forms a square with Mars. Okay. So I'm looking at midnight, Wednesday midnight going into Thursday morning, and the moon's at 5 degrees Aquarius, squaring Mars and Scorpio at 6. Okay. Is this for the US or for other countries? This is like a collective energy. It's for everybody. The nodes have a lot to do with the collective and what happens in the world and stuff. So it's like collectively. Okay. So with the moon in Aquarius on Thursday morning, squaring Mars, this can be a moment of frustration or a moment of, passion. Some of y'all are waking up and making a baby on Thursday morning with the moon square Mars. Okay, anyways. But yeah, with the moon square Mars, there could be conflict that day. We could wake up feeling irritated or frustrated. We can wake up feeling passionate or inspired as well. Moon square Mars doesn't have to be bad. It can also be inspiring, very motivational. But in general, we can feel like we have to. address something, we have to check something, like check someone or something, okay? That Mars in Scorpio squaring Moon in Aquarius. That's a fixed sign square between Mars and the Moon. So that is kind of giving me two people that are very stubbornly, staunchly attached to their own beliefs or opinions or ideas, and they're just like going at it. Also, on Thursday, this is also when, what aspect was I talking about? When Venus and the South Node conjoin. Yeah. So we have Venus and the South Node come into conjunction this day. So Moon square Mars, Moon in Aquarius squaring Mars, as Venus and the South Node are coming into conjunction, as Jupiter and Mercury coming into square, it feels like Thursday and Friday is very busy. It's very action oriented. It's very contentious. There's just a lot of energy. It seems like all these planets, Jupiter square Mercury, Venus on the south node, Moon going into Aquarius, separating from Pluto, squaring Mars. Also, Mercury opposite Chiron. It's kind of giving Thursday and Friday and Saturday are kind of very triggering energies. We're feeling a little triggered. We're feeling a little like antsy in some type of way. And I think we need to be very aware of this, especially going into Thursday, because on Thursday it looks like that's when like the planets are like making these exact either conjunctions or squares or oppositions, and that's when things kind of get a little tense in some type of way, okay? But yeah, with Moon Square Mars on Thursday, I'm looking at, what time am I looking at here? It's gonna be around like 6 a.m. in the morning Pacific time. We just want to be aware of that, of like feeling emotionally frustrated or, waking up with having a bad dream or a bad nightmare. Oh no, Moon Square Mars. I'm looking at 3 a.m. It's like right around 3 a.m. on Thursday morning. So you might wake up with an upset stomach. Be careful what you eat or drink Wednesday night. Okay, you don't want to wake up with an upset stomach with the Moon Square Mars on Thursday morning. Um, but yeah, so then we have the South Node and Venus come into conjunction later on that day. And yeah, I'm looking at 9 a.m. We have Venus in the South Node at 16 degrees. 16 is 12, a Cancer degree. So this is looking like we're learning some lessons about relationships on Thursday. And we're dealing with some kind of loss, some kind of spiritual revelation, some kind of releasing of things, some kind of ending maybe collectively, we're dealing with something. There's something with Venus and that South Node together on Thursday that is kind of giving me like, I don't know, there might be a collective tragedy or something. There might be something that we go through that's a little rough, and it might involve a woman, it might involve a woman, it might involve the law, it might involve an influencer, someone that's beautiful or graceful, or someone that, is involved in the justice system because it's Venus. Those are all things Venus. This could also be about jobs. I won't be surprised if we actually get an announcement on Thursday that a beauty company, a health company, a legal company, a food company, because Venus is also food. I will not be surprised if we get a notification on Thursday that a big company associated with food, health, beauty is letting go of a ton of employees. Okay, or is letting go of a lot of people with Venus in the South. Wouldn't be surprised. Let me see what someone said. The last Libra eclipse was on October 2nd. The date this Thursday last year, does that relate anything to the date again this year since the sun will be around the same eclipse degree? Maybe it might. It might. It really depends. I would have to like take a look at that. I would have to take a look at that chart on that day. You said October 2nd to see if there's any kind of like parallels. I'll take a look real quick actually. Hold on, let me go back. Baby, come back. You can blame it all on me. I was wrong, and I just can't live without you. Um, Hold on. You said it was October 2nd. Let me see. Ma. October 2nd. Well, the south node was at 6 degrees on that eclipse. Venus was in Scorpio, Mars is in Cancer, Saturn was in Pisces. I don't think there's any echoes of the eclipse on this day. I don't think so. Only because the nodes have switched. And at that time, we had Venus in Virgo or Venus in Scorpio, but this time we have Venus in Pisces in Virgo. That time Venus was in Scorpio. This time Venus is in Virgo, and she's with the South Node. And the nodes are no longer in Aries and Libra. We're in a whole new nodal cycle. So I don't think there's going to be any reverberations from this particular eclipse. I think that eclipse energy is done. Also, the planets are all doing something different. They're all in very, very different places. Um, And we've got a full moon in Aries coming up next week, but we'll talk about that when we get there. Okay. But yeah, so I think Thursday, October 2nd is when we start to see some like some like new crisis or new drama start to arise or something, with that Venus and the South Node contact. My dad said I love that song. Baby, come back. You can blame it all on me. I was wrong and I just can't live with brum, 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 brum. That's the jam right there. Anyways, so the cool thing that we have on Thursday though, which I like, which I might have mentioned already, is the sun is trining the moon, even though the moon is squaring Mars and we have Venus in the South Node conjunct and we have Mercury coming into an opposition with Chiron. We do have a good aspect of the sun trining the moon. Okay. So that, like I was saying earlier, is going to probably be about integration of lessons and us kind of like, bringing our finding harmony between our public life and our private life. Okay. Or matters of emotion and matters of identity. Someone said they're experiencing a lot of hostility recently. Is there something happening? Well, yes. The reason why there's been a lot of kind of like chaotic hostility or a lot of people feeling very angry and very triggered, especially last week, was because Mars was squaring Pluto. And Mars hit that square with Pluto and was separating from that square with Pluto. So that's why we were kind of getting a lot of like, violence, a lot of attacks, a lot of just really dark energy, sinister energy last week was that Mars squaring Pluto. They're gonna be by Thursday, they're within a 6 degree orb, but that Mars Pluto square though, Mars and I don't know. The Pluto in Aquarius, Mars in Scorpio, I think the square between those two signs, those are very malefic signs, right? Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, Scorpio is ruled by Mars, so yeah, that's been a big thing. That's been a big thing. Also, you want to talk about hostility? Well, guess what? We have a full moon in Aries coming up. We have a full moon in Aries coming up next week, and which we'll talk about, and that is going to be a very hostile full moon because it's in Aries. We have Mars and Scorpio in the eighth house away from the full moon. If you put the full moon on the rising, you put Aries on the rising, in the eighth house, we're going to have Mars. So I think that, we're going to be entering another period of hostility next week. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep it pushing. Push it. I'm just like a stereo today. I'm just like a radio station. I'm sounding like my Spotify right now. Um, so the moon keeps going into Aquarius on Thursday. I'm looking at the 15th hour, okay, which according to my math is no, I'm just kidding. That's 3 p.m. Let's keep going here. Also, I just want to say Moon Aquarius is really good for socializing. It's really good for brainstorming. It's really good for, connecting with others. It's really good for any kind of work that you want to do on any kind of like technology, any kind of plans that you're working through, anything like that. Those are all good things that you could work on. Listen, I don't need y'all to tell me what time it is, okay? I know it's 3 o'clock, okay? I know. I know. All right. The 15th hour is three. I get it. Okay. I don't need y'all spamming threes up in here. All right. Jeez. I'm just kidding. I love you guys. Okay, let's keep going. So, uh, what's happening on Thursday? We got some drama on Thursday evening. The moon's gonna come move into a square with Lilith and Scorpio. The moon square Lilith. Okay, no cheating on Thursday night. Okay, no cheating, no deceiving, no being dishonest. Okay, no sneaky linking. No sneaky linking Thursday night with the moon in Aquarius, square Pluto, or square Lilith and Scorpio. Okay. Be careful for overindulging as well. Letting your temptations or your unhealthy desires get to you with the moon square Lilith on Thursday evening. Okay. That definitely brings in a little bit of a taboo energy. Salacious. Thursday might be salacious in some type of way. Okay. But if you're trying to get your freaky deaky on, all right, well, Thursday night, if you're trying to make a baby and things like that, go for it. The moon's gonna square. That's you gonna find out if they're a real freak on Thursday night with the moon square Lilith. Okay, so then we keep going. Let's go take a look and see. Oh, so then we get to Friday, the day of Venus. Oh, I love Fridays. We like Friday. I like that. I like that. The moon's gonna trine Mercury in Libra on Friday, but the moon is also sextiling Chiron, and Mercury and Chiron going into a direct opposition on Friday, which we talked about earlier today, but that Mercury opposite Chiron and the moon aspecting Mercury and Chiron. I don't know. And it's Venus Day, the day of Venus, and Venus is separating from the South Node. It feels like there's some karmic unfolding in the realm of relationships and friendships and, social connections. It feels like Friday we're having to have some really tough conversations, some deep, tough conversations around what's hurting us, around what's hurting our partner, our spouse, or our friends or others. We're having to also maybe address, like I was saying earlier, some kind of imbalance or some kind of injustice in our connections, in our relationships, something like that. By the way, I had this tea sitting here this entire time and I didn't drink a sip of it, but I just remembered I had it. So Friday can be a little bit of if you're going on a date, if you're doing something on Friday where you're like going and hanging out with people and stuff like that, just be aware of this energy that is kind of like emotionally sensitive or triggering in some type of way. The good thing though, let me tell you what's good. The moon is trining Mercury and sextiling Chiron. So the moon is giving us a stabilizing influence with that Mercury Chiron opposition. The moon is giving us a way out, is giving us an opportunity to work through things, is allowing us to be a little bit more vulnerable. I mean, Aquarius moon though, vulnerable? Like, come on, is that even are those two words we could put together? Aquarius. The moon's still in Aquarius. So if you're willing to be open and honest and vulnerable and push past Saturn's energy on the moon, then you may be able to find a breakthrough on Friday. You may be able to work through some things, okay? But you gotta allow yourself to go deeper. This energy, Moon in Aquarius, Mercury in Libra, current Aries, may be very surface level, which is an air sign thing. Let's talk about it, air signs. Let's talk about air signs, vulnerability, depth, okay? Not just keeping things on the surface, not just hee-heeing and tee-heeing through things and just ignoring what's going on underneath, okay? You gotta go ahead and take a deep dive if you need to. You need to get your feet wet, my air signs. I know you don't like to get your feet wet. You don't like those emotions. You don't like those feelings. You don't like the process and you don't like vulnerability. But, baby, guess what? This is a good day for you to practice on Friday, October 3rd, 2025, specifically around, let's see, hold on, specifically around 9 a.m. in the morning. I would air signs. Give someone a call Friday morning and practice vulnerability and openness. Okay? Talk about something that's bothering you. And what may happen, let me tell you air signs. What may happen is someone has to talk to you about your BS and about what you've been avoiding. And they're going to bring it out of you and you got to they're going to make you confront it and make you talk about it even if you don't want to. Okay? So no bypassing, no emotional bypassing, no just tee-heeing and laughing your way through, serious things. It's, Mercury opposite Chiron and Aries. Let's talk about what hurts. Let's talk about what's imbalanced. Let's talk about what we need to do to bring back, justice and fairness and peace and love and connection into our relationships. And this could be with social engagements. This doesn't have to be with a lover. This could be with friends. This can be with your parents. This can be with your neighbor. This can be with, your dog. Constantly. I need to talk to Gilbert. Listen, Gilbert, where's he at? I don't even know where he's at. He is MIA. He's been overstepping my boundaries. Where is he? Is he under me? No, I have no idea where my dog is at. My dog is MIA. He's missing. Anyways, that's how you know. You know if you're a real Pisces or a Virgo if you struggle with boundaries with animals. Like, I can't even keep up. I can't even like tell my dog no. How am I gonna tell a human being no? Like, I can't even have healthy boundaries with an animal. And you expect me to have healthy boundaries with human beings? Come on now. We gotta let go of these expectations. Because listen, I just can't do it. Your dog bosses you around too. Yeah, my dog bosses me around too. Like I feel so bad and guilty. Like I'm trying to like train my dog to like be left at home by himself, but it's like so hard. I just can't do it because I feel so bad leaving him here, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go get him a babysitter and stuff. But that's like a Pisces Virgo thing. Oh, and she said, "Oh, nah, I had that on lock with my Virgo fur baby." He taught you boundaries. That's good. That's good. Yeah, I am still learning. I don't know if I'll ever learn. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. By the time I'm 60, maybe. Maybe by my second Saturn return, I'll get it. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, so we're looking at Friday and we got this moon trine Mercury and this moon sextile Chiron or this moon sextile Chiron and Mercury opposite Chiron. What I like about the moon trine Mercury though is that could be good for conversations and communication. That could also be good for mails. That could be good for phone calls. That could be good for, any kind of decisions or choices that you need to make. So if you are feeling like if you are not sure about something in your life, on Friday morning around 9 a.m., the moon's gonna hit this beautiful trine with Mercury, and that could be a moment of clarity, or that could be, you get the information that you need in order to make an informed decision in some type of way. Okay, with the moon trine Mercury. Let me see if there's anything else that I am missing with the moon going into Aquarius. No, I think that's it. All right, let's keep going. So then on Friday. I'm looking at 12 p.m. Pacific time Friday. The moon's at 25 degrees Aquarius. Oh yeah, and then that Mercury moon trine perfects at 12 p.m. And then we keep moving. So I'm looking at 6 p.m. Pacific time. The moon's at 29 degrees Aquarius, and then the moon goes into Pisces. Oh no. Oh no. I actually like the moon in Pisces. This is my rising, but this is like the completion point of the eclipses. The moon in Pisces. So the moon in Pisces is the last lunar transit before a full moon in Aries. And the moon in Pisces, Saturday and Sunday, I actually don't think the moon's gonna hit. I think it's gonna be on Monday when the moon hits conjunction with Saturn in Pisces. But this is like wrapping up our eclipse cycle. Like this moon in Pisces transit Saturday, Sunday, and Monday as well, because then the moon in Pisces goes into Aries next. It's gonna be in Pisces up into like even on Monday, I believe. Oh wow. Wow. It speeds through Pisces. So the moon actually speeds through Pisces and it's on Monday it goes into Aries. I'm looking at midnight Monday morning. Midnight of Sunday going into Monday morning. The moon's in Aries with Neptune. And then we have our full moon. We have our full moon coming up on Monday. So I'll talk about that later on this week. We're going to talk about the full moon. If not on Thursday or Friday. We're going to talk about it on the weekend, probably Saturday or something. I'll tell you. I'll give you all the deets on that when we're going to talk about the full moon in Aries, okay? But then we have our full moon in Aries that's going to be happening at 14 degrees, which is a Taurus degree. So that full moon is going to be about money, resources, finances, our values. It's going to be about food, diet, things like that. Things like that. Is it at 14? Yeah, it's going to be at 14 degrees, which is a Taurus degree. Even the moon is done with this eclipse. I know, right? The moon like speeds through Pisces and is like, get me out of here. Get me out of this energy. I'm done with this. But yeah, so let's talk about the moon in Pisces. Let's wrap up our week ahead with the moon in Pisces transit. So, all right. So what's so interesting is like we've been having these like weekends where the moon is going through a mutable sign. This past weekend, the moon was going through Sagittarius. The weekend before that, we had our solar eclipse in Virgo, where the moon was going through Virgo. The weekend before that, we had the moon going through Gemini. Yeah. And then the weekend before that, we had our lunar eclipse in Pisces. So we've been having these like on the weekends, we've been having like these mutable moon transits. Oh, where's he at? Oh, he's in his little I was like, I heard him sneeze or something, but I couldn't see him. He's in his crate right now. So my little Gilbert. But yeah, we've been having these mutable moons, which has been making the weekends kind of like fun and kind of like shifty and kind of like what's going on, you know? But the moon in Pisces is very expressive, it's very creative, it's very imaginative, it's very emotional, it's very sensitive. I think we're gonna be in a very kind of sensitive or delicate or even a spiritual place this weekend with the moon in Pisces. What I will say is that there's going to be certain kind of like karmic narratives or karmic stories that like wrap up. There is definitely people connecting with others, relationship wise, love wise, friendship wise, partnership wise, traveling with people in a way that's very fated and very destined. I think this weekend really caters to the energy of like divine union or divine connection or people that like have to meet each other and they have to like you know they're meant to either exchange energy, they're meant to teach each other something, they're meant to go through something together because as the moon is lining up with the nodes with the north node in Pisces, the moon is actually opposing Venus and Virgo, and I'm looking at this opposition with the moon and Venus going into Saturday night going into yeah, Saturday night going into Sunday morning. And what I will say is, with the moon in Pisces opposing this Venus in Virgo and this Venus moon along the nodes, you have to honor whatever is meant to kind of unfold or manifest in the realm of relationships and partnerships. We just want to watch out this weekend because this can also be about moon opposite Venus, could be about overspending or overdoing it in some type of way. It could also be about, I don't know, it's kind of giving like romance. It's kind of giving Moon opposite Venus is kind of giving like confessions of love, maybe, or okay. Now I see where I see that. Okay, the confessions of love thing came from the moon trining Lilith and the moon trine Jupiter. I was like, where did I get that from? But that makes sense. The moon's gonna trine Lilith and trine Jupiter on Sunday, going into Sunday morning. So, but this moon opposite Venus, like, I feel like if you go on a date, like, or if you meet someone, you have a date planned on like Saturday, Sunday, there's something very karmic about this person. There's something that you have to like learn from this person. There's something that this person has for you in some type of way. There's something that's kind of like important about this like Venus opposite moon thing. And what I will say though, there may be moments of confusion, there may be moments of drama or crisis, or there may be just like fated, destined experiences or occurrences because the moon is going to be going over the north node and it's opposing Venus, who's on the south node, is separated from the south node. So I just want to let y'all know that, okay? It could be good though. It doesn't have to be bad. This could be good. This could be beautiful. This can be, it's divinely aligned. And it's also the north node side, right? The north node's in Pisces, where the moon. So this is about intensity. This is about fun. Also, it's about passion on Saturday because I don't know how I missed this, but let's go back to it real quick. On Saturday, the moon trines Mars. Yeah. The moon and Mars are trining each other. I'm looking at 9 a.m. Saturday morning. Some of y'all are waking up with a hangover on Saturday morning, but that's okay. You know, to each their own. But the moon's going to be trining Mars. This moon Mars trine is like very courageous, very ambitious, very excited. We're feeling very passionate. We're feeling very inspired. We also may be feeling very like emotional, but emotional in a way that's not like, well, it's the moon in Pisces, so there could be some sensitivity, but it's more about like taking action around what we're feeling. So the moon in Pisces is like our feelings, and the moon trining Mars in Scorpio is like taking action and doing something about what we're feeling. Okay. I also won't be surprised if this weekend we are, there's probably going to be some more protests and things like this, because it is a weekend where the nodes are featured, and it's also, it's Libra season, we have Uranus and Pluto in a trine. So I'm kind of feeling like there's going to be more protests or something like that this weekend. Um, Also, what's really interesting is, Pisces does rule like people that work in the waterways, or people that work at the docks, or people that work in religious or spiritual institutions. Like we just had that shooting that happened at that church this past weekend, right? That was when the moon was going through Sag. Sag and Pisces are connected to spiritual or religious institutions, things like monasteries and churches and stuff. Those are connected to Pisces and Sagittarius. So, with that being said, we may feel inspired or motivated spiritually, emotionally. We want to watch out for religious or spiritual people this weekend. They could end up in the headlines in some type of way, or even like, religious people organizing and doing like, you know, social justice walkouts or doing protests and stuff like that. Also, people at the docks, people at the waterways, also the film industry. Pisces is connected to the film industry, photographers, Hollywood. That's also a Pisces thing. We're probably going to see some activity or some triggering or some activation of those people in those communities this weekend with the moon going through Pisces and going along the nodes. Okay. But especially, I don't know, Saturday is giving like we're feeling very passionate and very inspired with the moon trine Mars. But before the moon trines Mars around 9 a.m., as the moon goes into Pisces, it also squares Uranus. So, oh yeah, that makes sense that we're having protests. Yeah, on Saturday morning, going into Sunday. Because the moon initially squares Uranus right as it goes into Pisces. So this moon Uranus square could be about, an act of rebellion or a sudden change of plans or a sudden redirection. Or even on Saturday morning, you may wake up and be like, oh my God, today I want to drive to Mount Shasta. Oh, today we're going to go to the beach. Oh, today I'm going to do something I've never done before, right? Because of that moon Uranus square first thing in the morning. And, the moon's going to be carrying the energy of Uranus into the day. And then right as the moon separates from that square Uranus, it trines Mars. So that Uranus Mars energy is very passionate. It's very exciting. It's very stimulating. It's very, let's go do something fun. Let's go do something exciting. We might be feeling that Saturday morning. Um, Good day to do something that, is new. Good day to do something that, you've never tried before. Obviously within the bounds of safety and security, because we're still wrapping up our eclipse energy and the moon's going through Pisces in the North Node, right? So we still want to be aware of our safety. We want to do things that are safe. But that's just my Capricorn moon speaking. The Uranus and Gemini has been making me do research on so many different subjects lately. Yeah, yeah. I'm excited for Uranus and Gemini. I personally, I think it's gonna be good for us on a collective level, or good for us individually. But I think collectively, Uranus and Gemini is gonna be real rough. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I think it's gonna be real rough collectively. So, all right, let's keep going. So I was talking about Saturday and the moon going through Pisces. So the moon's gonna hit the North Node exactly on, let's see, what time? I think I said around midnight, right? Oh, actually, no, it's going to be, yeah, around 10 p.m. on Saturday. The moon actually hits a conjunction with the North Node. So yeah, so Friday night or Saturday night, I mean, is looking intense. It's looking spicy. It's looking romantic though. We have the moon hitting the North Node, but also hitting this opposition with Venus. So It made you feel spill family secrets. Yeah. Yeah, Uranus and Gemini, activate that throat chakra, baby. Start talking. Let people know what you think. All right. And then Sunday, let's go look at Sunday. So the last day that we're looking at is the day of the sun. And then the moon is moving past. By the midnight hour, Saturday evening into Sunday, the moon is moving past the north node. And then the moon has to hit this conjunction with Saturn. Ah. So let me see. Hold on before oh, we have this beautiful. Oh, it's really cool actually. We have the moon trine Jupiter on Sunday. Oh, who's going to church? Oh, that's gonna be. Oh, who's visiting their family? Who's doing like a family Sunday dinner? Who's seeing a family member that they haven't seen in a long time on Sunday? The moon's gonna be in Pisces, trining Jupiter. Someone's gonna go hang out with their grandparent or grandmother or grandfather or somebody they haven't seen in a long time. Or also going to a sporting event. Who's going to a sporting event on Sunday? Because Jupiter is also connected to sports and athletics. So the moon's gonna be trining Jupiter, which we love. And then the moon's also gonna be hitting this conjunct. So I'm looking at moon trine Jupiter around 12 p.m. Pacific time on Sunday. That's gonna be a vibe. That's feeling really good. That's like nourishing family time. That's like, it feels really good. Someone said, "Oh my God, yeah, my brother comes over for Sunday dinner." Look at that. That's so funny. The moon trine Jupiter in Cancer. And the moon's also going to be hitting Saturn. So the moon moves on to hit Saturn like later on in the day before it ingresses and moves on. Yeah, so I'm looking at 6 p.m. Sunday and the moon's with Saturn. So this is like serious conversations. This is like reality checks. This is like karmic releasing, endings. This is like, we get home early Sunday night because we have to get ready for work tomorrow, Moon Saturn together. This is about also kind of like consultation with like elders or elderly people. So we wrap up our Sunday with the moon hitting a conjunction with Saturn in Pisces, who has been teaching us so many lessons, and we are so thankful for all the lessons that Saturn's been teaching us. Louie, I enjoy your tone and inflections in your voice. It's like you sing when you talk. Thank you. Yeah, I have a very melodic voice. That's a ninth house Mercury thing, but it's also because I have Neptune touching my sun and my Mercury. So I kind of have like an angelic voice. Yeah, it's the Mercury sextile Neptune thing that I got going on. Kind of leads to having a melodic or a musical voice. Also, it keeps you guys engaged, the vocal inflections and stuff. There are things that I don't like consciously do. It's the way my voice is, but it keeps you guys engaged. It's definitely something that, it's pretty cool. Anyways, so Moon Saturn, okay, reality checks, a moment of awakening, a moment of delay or hesitation, a moment of rejection or like no. We just want to be aware of that. But what we love is that even though the moon is hitting a conjunction with Saturn, it's carrying this Jupiter trine energy, right? It's separating from this trine with Jupiter and carrying that energy into Saturn, and Jupiter and Saturn are slowly moving into a trine. Can a chart show altos, etc.? What does that mean? So yeah, reality checks, wake up calls, karmic reckoning, karmic reckoning, karmic reckoning. I was ready to say like Wreck-It Ralph. Karmic reckoning with Moon hitting a conjunction with Saturn, and then that's it. We wrap up our week. It's an eventful week. Also, oh, can a chart show altos, etc.? Maybe I feel like okay. This is what I believe. Okay, if you attune your vision to look for certain things astrologically, you will naturally come up with an ability or a gift to be able to identify certain things in a chart that other astrologers or other people can't. But you gotta like look at a lot of charts and you gotta come up with your own processes and you gotta come up with your own pattern recognition, for what would make like an alto voice or what would make like a bass voice or what would make like a contralto voice and stuff. Um, I think in general, though, talent when it comes to the voice can be seen in the chart, or even like creative musical talent could be seen in the chart, even talent around dancing. The type of voice, though, like that detailed, I don't know. That may be something that can be done, but I can't. I don't know about that. Okay, but I do believe it's possible. I think everything is possible. Like I'm a Jupiter person. I'm a Pisces rising. I got Saturn and Sagittarius. I have Jupiter and Aries trying my Saturn. I believe all things are possible. I think everything is possible. And but it's like the possibility really depends upon how much work you're willing to put into it and whether or not you're willing to figure it out. Okay. That's like a whole nother thing. So, but yeah, my loves, let me see if there's anything else. Oh, what I wanted to say. Hold on before we wrap up. And then I'll let you guys go, okay? Because we're already at 2 hours. Mercury's going into Scorpio next week, starting on Monday. So Mercury ingresses into Scorpio. We're going to have Mercury and Mars together, and Mercury and Mars are actually going to be forming a conjunction. So we got some politicians being born starting next week. That's going to be the week of, October 8th, going all the way to like October 19th. We're going to have this Mercury Mars thing going on. Mr. Kirk, Mr. CK had a Mercury Mars conjunct in Scorpio. Also, one of my favorite men, what is his name? Zoran. Oh, I'm so bad with his name. Oh no. Zoran Mamdani. Yeah, he has Mercury Mars together in Scorpio as well. So we're gonna have Mercury going into Scorpio and also kind of hitting a conjunction with Mars. And we're gonna have, yeah, Mamdani, yeah. Zoran Mamdani. So Mercury's ingress into Scorpio though is gonna be very interesting, I will say, especially because he's gonna be co-present with Mars. Um, I think Mercury in Scorpio is going to, stir the pot when it comes to hidden secret information. I think Mercury in Scorpio is going to activate a lot of politicians, and I think we're going to get breaches of information. We might see certain files released during Mercury's transit in Scorpio. Okay, there's definitely going to be some movement, and there might also be political violence with Mercury in Scorpio because Mercury and Mars are going to be transiting together, and Mercury is going to actually conjoin Mars. So when we see Mercury conjoin Mars, we might see some political violence, or we might see people feeling more triggered around politics and stuff. So, but there's definitely going to be shit coming to the surface. There's definitely going to be some excavation of things with Mercury and Scorpio because Mercury and Mars are both going to be digging ish up, triggering things. We're asking the hard-hitting questions of Mercury, Mars, and Scorpio, We are getting to the root of the problem and the issue. We're excavating things and seeing what's underneath the floorboards and seeing what's underneath the surface and things like that. So yes, okay. I also think Mercury and Scorpio is going to be good for our discernment. So we're going to be feeling a little bit more discerning. Our intuition is going to be way stronger when Mercury's in the sign of Scorpio. And we're going to have to really trust our gut feelings. We're going to have to trust what our intuition, what our gut is telling us, with Mercury and Scorpio. Because I think the gift of Mercury and Scorpio is being able to see beyond the BS, be able to see through the bullshit, right? Um, when people have a strong Mercury, also, Mercury and Virgo has that ability. Virgo Mercury has that ability. I would even say to a certain extent Gemini, but if Gemini is willing to do the research, really depends. Sometimes, they have the discernment, but they just, aren't focused because they're so scattered and they're so, they don't have. I think Virgo has a stronger relationship with their intuition than Gemini. Um, yeah. Because Virgo is a little bit more because Virgo is connected to the water element, and earth element, right? Virgo or the feminine signs, the receptive signs, which are more intuitive. They're more the energy of two, right? Where Gemini is more of a masculine sign. It's more cerebral. It's more mental. It's the masculine side of Mercury, where Virgo is the feminine side of Mercury. So, yeah, I think we have to go deeper. We have to go deeper with Mercury, Mars, and Scorpio, with Mercury and Scorpio next week. And, really got to listen to our intuition and we got to really trust what our guts are telling us. Yeah, Virgo, someone said, I feel like Virgo will feel it in their body or gut, and Gemini is two in the head. Yeah, I agree. I think Gemini is really intuitive, really psychic, though. I think Mercury people are very intuitive, but because they're so cerebral and so anxious, and if Gemini Virgo energy hasn't really tamed their mind, they don't have a good relationship with their mind, it's going to be hard to go beneath the mind, which is where the intuition is, which is where the intuitive information is, right? The mind is just a tool. The mind is just a vessel. It's just like a tool. It's like a wrench. It's like you just need your mind to be able to do things, to be able to function, right? To be able to organize your lived experience. But the mind in of itself is not where we're at. It's not who we are. We're not the mind. We're not Mercury. Okay? We are all the planets. We are the sun, we are the moon, we are Mercury, we're Mars, we're Venus, we're Jupiter, we're Saturn, we're all the planets, right? But so many of us, we get caught up in the mind. We allow the monkey brain to just take over our lived experience, and we lose control of the mind. The Mercury, the mind needs refinement, it needs containment, it needs structure, it needs discipline, okay? It needs healthy, consistent routine and practice for it to be mastered so that we can go beyond the mind and below the mind because that's where intuitive psychic information is at, right? And you get, right? So it's interesting, like your mind, right? Like the rational, logical Mercury side of your brain is the left side. Your creative, intuitive, spiritual, psychic brain is your right side. This side will get the information. They'll pull it. But it's the work of this side of the brain to translate it and to make it real and to make it applicable and to put it into words and to make it make sense, right? You need both sides of your mind, both sides of your brain working together in order to do any kind of intuitive work. You need the logical mind and you need the intuitive mind. You need both sides, you need both hemispheres of your mind working together. If you're too cerebral, too mental, you're going to be disconnected from the intuitive, the spiritual, the emotional part of your mind and your brain, you know? And that's the balance of Mercury and the moon. You know, the moon is the unconscious, subconscious processes of the mind. The moon rules over the automatic processes of the mind. So you're not thinking about breathing most of the time, right? You're not thinking about how you're going to hold your hands or how you're going to move your body a lot of times. You just do it. And that's the moon. That's what the moon rules over. The unconscious, subconscious, or even hidden processes of the mind. Where Mercury is the working, tangible, visible, processing part of the mind. Your words, your hands, what you say, what you do, your decisions, your choices. That's Mercury, right? Little lesson for you guys. Understanding how the planets rule different parts of our psyche. Okay? The sun is your ego, your sense of self, your self awareness, your consciousness, your ability to think of yourself as independent of the world around you. That is the sun. Your Mercury is your ideas, your speech, the way that you think, the way that you learn, the way you process information. Where the moon, okay, is your unconscious, subconscious, intuitive, emotional mind. All different layers. They all play a part. They all play a part. And I think that's where we're going to wrap up today. I don't think I have any other information to share with you guys. I think we're good. We wrapped up with the moon hitting a conjunction with Saturn, and then we kick off next week with our full moon in Aries on Monday. I do believe it's on Monday. Yeah, we have a full moon in Aries on Monday, October 6th. Right? Is it Monday, October 6th? Yeah, it is. Right at the end of the day. Let me go look at that full moon right quick. I'm gonna look at it real quick. For those of you that are lingering on here, we have a full moon. Okay. Mercury oh my goodness. Monday, Mercury just goes into Scorpio on the full moon, and Mercury's in a hard square with Pluto. And Mercury is the ruler of this full moon in Aries. And Venus is also, well, Venus, she's all right. She's separating from the South Node, but she's so close to the South Node. But this is going to be a very interesting full moon. Okay. It's going to be a very interesting full moon. It's going to be a little spicy. It's going to be a little contentious. We have the ruler of the full moon, Mars, okay, in Scorpio, but we have Mercury square Pluto. So to me, you know what this is giving me? This is giving me secret information being leaked. To me, this is giving Mercury square Pluto between Scorpio and Aquarius like this is giving hacked, like people hacking information. It's giving people scamming information. It's giving people, you know, obtaining information in secret, hidden ways or deceptive ways, or like, you know, overstepping some kind of like boundary, you know, breaking through a firewall or something to obtain information and to distribute it and things like that. So it's going to be an intense full moon, my loves. It's going to be a little, it's a Martian full moon. It's an Aries full moon. So, you know, there's going to be talk around war and fighting and enemies and things like this, you know, but we'll talk about it. We'll go deeply into it next week when I break down the full moon. Next week, what I'm talking about this week, later on this week. It's either going to be Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, but I'm going to do the full moon breakdown in Aries. Okay. And it will be posted to Instagram. All right. And also YouTube. Okay, my loves. But yeah, it's gonna be a crazy, crazy full moon. We have Mercury and Mars in the eighth house. It's gonna be an interesting full moon in Aries that we have, but we'll go into more deets later on. All right, my loves, you guys have a beautiful, blessed day. Thank you all for everyone that bought a badge. I appreciate you so much, all one of you. The one of you that bought a badge, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I was all of you, and I looked and I was like, oh, there's only one person that popped badge. We're on the continued ride. Yes, we are. Thank you, love. You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm gonna go and post this on YouTube right away. So if you guys want to go back and watch it on YouTube, you can. Okay. But I love you all. I was just about to say, I need to send you another tip. I love you all so much. Have a beautiful, blessed day. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending time with me today. Okay. Oh yeah, my final thoughts, because this is something that I do. My final thoughts for this week. Okay, these are my final thoughts for this week. Okay. This week we need to make sure that we're regulating our emotions. This week, we need to make sure that we are not allowing our anxiety and our paranoias and our fears to get us down or to block us or hold us back because we need to confront them. Okay. This week, we need to be aware of how we're moving in our relationship life, in our social life, in our love life, in our partnerships, in our connections with others. Be very aware. Mercury's going to be opposing Chiron in Aries, and Venus going over the South Node. We also need to understand that this week there's certain karmic fated things that can continue, that need to continue to unfold or that need to like express themselves. And we need to let it be what it is. Okay. I think this is a beautiful week of surrender. The sun is in Libra. Venus is conjunct the South Node. The ruler of the sun is the dispositor of the sun is Venus conjunct the South Node. So there's something around we need to just surrender and accept and grieve maybe and mourn and find closure or find healing or even come to a place of completion with certain things within ourselves and certain things within our life. Okay. There's a lot of us that are going through a transformation when it comes to who we are. Like our lifestyle, our identity, the way that we express ourselves, like we're going through a transformation. We're going through a death and a birthing, a new birthing of the self. There's a new version of ourselves coming out. There's a upgraded, a modernized, a future version of ourselves that we're trying to reach towards, or that we're trying to move towards. We need to honor this kind of like funky transitionary process as we're leaving something behind and moving towards something new. And we're in that kind of like valley. We're in that no between land. We need to honor that. That's okay. That's a beautiful place to be in. Okay. But it's uncomfortable. And what I will say is this week, don't shy away or avoid discomfort. Lean into what makes you uncomfortable. Do a little bit of research. Dig deeper. Ask yourself questions. Talk about it with others around, right? Like what it is that is coming up, what it is that's coming up for you, what it is that, you know, you need to take a look at, or what it is that you need to kind of, you know, honor in terms of where you're going. Someone said they're definitely in the valley. Yeah, many of us are feeling this way. Many of us are feeling like We're lost in the valley of shadows and we don't know what the future holds. We don't know what direction to go in. We're confused, we're unsure, we're afraid, right? Like we just don't know. We can't see, the steps in front of us. Some of us we're just blindly walking upon this path and there's fog and we have no idea where we're going. That's okay. That's fine. One step at a time. Keep walking, okay? One foot in front of the other. Eventually, everything shall be revealed. Everything shall be seen and shall be known, right? The path will reveal itself. You will find that clarity. You will. Promise you that. Okay. It's just going to take some time, and we're not in that energy right now. This energy is meant to be kind of confusing. This energy is meant to be a little unstable. Okay. This energy is also transitionary. We're in a transitionary period. The planets are reflecting that back to us. And we need to honor that. It's okay. It's scary, but it's also beautiful because there's potential, there's possibility here as well in this space that we're in. So, okay. So don't be anxious. Okay. Don't be self-conscious. No need to be self-conscious. Venus is in Virgo, exposing our insecurities, exposing our vulnerabilities, exposing, the things, oh, we have a wounded relationship with our body, with our looks, with our beauty. We have, you know, Venus and Virgo is revealing all these things and exposing these things. And it's okay. Let it be revealed. Let it come to the light so that it can be healed, so that it can be worked through. Okay? Because why? You cannot heal what you are not aware of. You cannot work on what you cannot see within yourself or within your own life. Okay? So you gotta allow the muck, you gotta allow the triggering, you gotta allow the trauma to come to the surface so that you kind of know what you're working with. Okay? Mwah! Mwah! I love you all so much. Have a beautiful, blessed day. Take care of yourselves. Be well. I do have some availability in my calendar this week. Usually I'm booked out a few weeks, but you know, it's my eighth house season, which usually my eighth house season tends to slow down for me when it comes to readings and stuff. So I do have some availability this week. You don't have to wait 2 or 3 weeks to get a reading with me right now. So if you're interested in booking a reading, go check out my link tree on my calendar. I do shorter readings as well. So even if you don't want to do a full hour chart breakdown, but you want to just take a look at your transit chart or have me throw some cards down for you because I also do tarot, right? You could book a 30-minute reading and we could just take a quick look. We could take a quick little gander. We could take a quick little peek at what's going on with your chart and I can tell you what I see for you. Okay. But I love you all so much. Have a beautiful, blessed day. Thank you for hanging out with me these 2 hours and some change. We were here for like 2.5 hours today. But we had a lot of messages we had to get across today. We had to talk about quite a few things. But yeah, I love you all so much. Have a beautiful, blessed day. I'll see you around and look out for my stories for when I'm gonna go live and talk about the full moon in Aries, okay? Mwah. All right, take care. Bye. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. When I go, oh, I forgot the words. Away. Period. All right, you guys. I'll see you. Bye.